Welcome, brave souls, to another spine-tingling episode of Whispers in the Dark. Tonight, we journey into the misty hills and shadowed valleys of West Virginia, a land steeped in mystery and haunted by tales of the unexplained. Our focus: the eerie bridges that stretch across its rivers and ravine structures where the living have vanished without a trace, and where the whispers of the past echo through the night. As we delve into these tales, remember, not all who wander are lost, and not all who vanish are gone. Keep your wits about you, for the spirits of these bridges may still be watching. The Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, is more than a relic of engineering history. It is a somber monument to tragedy and a hotspot for ghostly activity. Spanning the Ohio River, this once vital link between Point Pleasant and Gallipoli, Ohio, was celebrated as an impressive feat of design. But on the afternoon of December 15, 1967, the bridge became the scene of one of the most devastating bridge collapses in American history. During rush hour, as cars and buses crossed the span, a critical structural failure caused the bridge to plummet into the freezing waters below. 46 lives were lost in an instant, and amidst the wreckage, 2 bodies were never recovered. The inexplicable disappearance of these victims has fueled a lasting aura of mystery and unease around the site. In the decades following the collapse, the Silver Bridge has taken on a reputation that blends historical tragedy with paranormal legend. Locals and visitors alike report sensations and sightings that defy rational explanation. On fog-laden nights, some say they hear phantom footsteps echoing across the bridge, despite it having been replaced and modernized. The sounds of tires skimming metal, hushed whispers, and muffled voices sometimes drift over the water, carrying with them a sense of lingering sorrow. These auditory phenomena are often attributed to the spirits of those who perished, still bound to the site where their lives ended so abruptly. Sightings of shadowy figures are among the most persistent reports. A few daring souls have described seeing dark silhouettes standing at the water's edge, silently observing the river below. These figures do not move when approached. They seem to exist in a liminal space, neither fully corporeal nor entirely absent. Witnesses have noted a chilling sensation when in proximity to these apparitions, a heavy, almost oppressive feeling as if the weight of lost lives presses down upon them. Some claim the figures are the missing souls, unable to leave the watery grave that claimed them, wandering eternally in search of closure. Paranormal enthusiasts who have visited the bridge report strange electromagnetic anomalies and sudden drops in temperature. Electronic equipment often malfunctions inexplicably near the site, with cameras shutting off, audio recorders capturing distorted sounds, and flashlights flickering without cause. Hikers and nocturnal explorers have recounted moments of disorientation, where the familiar geometry of the bridge seems to warp in low light, giving the impression of stepping into another realm. Some suggest that the trauma of the collapse left a psychic imprint on the location, a residual energy that interacts with the living in eerie, unpredictable ways. Local folklore intertwines with the historical tragedy, further deepening the Silver Bridge's mystique. Point Pleasant has long been associated with strange occurrences, most famously the Mothman sightings of the 1960s. Some speculate that the bridge collapse and the Mothman legend are connected, with the creature acting as an omen of disaster. This blending of cryptid lore and ghost stories creates a layered tapestry of fear and fascination, drawing visitors eager to witness the inexplicable for themselves. Even today, tour guides recount tales of phantom vehicles and unexplained screams during nighttime drives, stories that continue to attract thrill-seekers and paranormal investigators. The river itself seems to play a role in the haunting. On certain nights, the waters beneath the bridge appear unnaturally still, reflecting a silver shimmer in the moonlight. Witnesses have described seeing ripples form as if something just beneath the surface is moving, though the river is calm and empty. Fishermen along the banks have reported lines tugging without any fish on the hook, and boats have occasionally malfunctioned when passing directly under the old bridge site. These phenomena feed into the legend that the spirits of those lost in the collapse remain tethered to the river, haunting both the site of their final moments and the waters that claimed them. Even the replacement bridge has not been immune to stories of the supernatural. Pedestrians crossing the new span have reported sudden, unexplainable chills, the feeling of being watched, and fleeting glimpses of shadows moving in the corner of their vision. Some say the spirits of the original Silver Bridge are restless, unable to accept the construction that replaced their final resting place. Others believe that these occurrences are residual echoes of trauma and loss imprinted upon the site by the intensity of the original disaster. Researchers and skeptics continue to debate the source of these experiences, but the consistency and persistence of reports make them difficult to ignore. Over time, the Silver Bridge has become a symbol not only of structural failure, but also of the lingering human impact of tragedy. Memorials along the river commemorate those who perished. Yet the stories of ghostly encounters serve as an ongoing reminder that some events leave traces that extend beyond the physical. Locals often advise visitors to approach the bridge with respect, warning that curiosity without reverence can provoke unsettling experiences. Photographers and urban explorers are cautioned to be mindful of the history, as the bridge is more than a crossing. It is a place where the boundary between life and death is palpably thin. Even now, more than 50 years after the collapse, the legend of the Silver Bridge persists. On quiet nights, when the Ohio River flows silently beneath the steel structure, the echoes of lost lives seem to linger in the air. Shadowy figures, phantom footsteps, and unexplainable chills continue to haunt the area, blending history and legend into a chilling narrative. The bridge stands as a solemn reminder that tragedy leaves marks not just on the living, but on the very landscapes where lives were lost. Visitors who come to walk its spans or gaze into the depths below often leave with a mixture of awe, sorrow, and unease, aware that some mysteries refuse to be solved and that the spirits of the missing may never truly find peace. The New River Gorge Bridge in Fayette County, West Virginia, is often celebrated as an engineering marvel, a soaring steel arch that stretches 3,030 feet across the deep canyon below. Its height, nearly 900 feet above the New River, draws tourists, photographers, and thrill-seekers eager to experience its breathtaking vistas. But behind the bridge's impressive structure lies a far darker narrative, one steeped in tragedy and whispers of lingering spirits. Over the years, countless individuals have lost their lives to the bridge's dizzying heights, whether by accident, misjudged stunts, or intentional leaps. These tragedies have given rise to ghost stories and paranormal reports that continue to unsettle those who visit. Visitors to the New River Gorge Bridge have described an unsettling atmosphere, especially at dusk or during the early morning fog when the canyon is shrouded in mist. Some pedestrians and onlookers claim to see shadowy figures standing at the edge of the bridge, often dressed in indistinct clothing from another era. These figures reportedly appear still, almost frozen, their faces obscured or blurred, before vanishing suddenly when approached. Locals speculate that these apparitions are the spirits of those who jumped or fell from the bridge, unable or unwilling to leave the site where their lives ended so abruptly. Witnesses frequently report a cold, uneasy sensation when glimpsing these figures, as if the air itself is heavier with sorrow and loss. There are also accounts of auditory phenomena associated with the bridge. People walking along the pedestrian walkways have described hearing faint cries, whispers, or the sound of footsteps pacing alongside them, even when no one else is present. In some instances, these sounds seem to echo from below the bridge, from the depth of the gorge, giving the impression that the lost souls are calling out from the river and rocks far beneath. Others report hearing sudden thuds or scraping noises, which vanish as quickly as they appear, leaving an eerie silence in their wake. Paranormal investigators visiting the site have captured unusual audio anomalies and EVP, electronic voice phenomena, recordings which some interpret as attempts at communication from spirits tethered to the bridge. The tragic history of the bridge contributes to its haunted reputation. Since its completion in 1977, the New River Gorge Bridge has been the site of accidental falls, suicides, and even daredevil stunts gone wrong. While some individuals were mourned and memorialized, Many stories ended in silence, leaving lingering questions about the missing. It is these unresolved losses that seem to fuel the paranormal activity. Locals often recount that on quiet nights, the bridge feels almost alive, as though it remembers each life that ended upon its steel span and the jagged rocks below. Hikers and photographers frequently describe an inexplicable sense of being watched, even when the bridge is deserted. The area beneath the bridge, the New River Gorge itself, is also integral to the stories. The canyons, steep cliffs, and roaring waters create an environment that amplifies the supernatural atmosphere. Visitors walking the trails below sometimes report glimpsing translucent figures along the edge of the gorge or on the bridge above, as if peering down upon the river from another plane. The sound of rushing water can sometimes be mistaken for cries or footsteps. Yet many assert that the noises are distinct from the natural river sounds, and they carry a tone of urgent warning or sorrow. Some local legends suggest that the spirits lingering on the bridge are not merely trapped but drawn to its heights, compelled by the energy of their final moments. Witnesses often describe a strange pull or emotional weight when near the edge, as if the bridge itself resonates with the intensity of past tragedies. There are even reports of unexplained shadows moving along the walkway at night, figures glimpsed in the corner of one's eye, only to vanish when attention is focused directly on them. Paranormal enthusiasts who conduct nighttime investigations note that temperature drops occur suddenly near these sightings, along with sensations of pressure, as though invisible hands are brushing past. The New River Gorge Bridge has also been associated with unusual light phenomena. Some report seeing flickering orbs hovering around the bridge's arches, especially near areas where jumps or falls occurred. These orbs are often described as having an ethereal, white or bluish glow, and they move in ways that defy explanation, floating against the wind or hovering steadily over the walkway. Witnesses claim these lights appear during overcast or foggy conditions, intensifying the bridge's already spectral appearance. Local folklore often interprets these lights as manifestations of the souls still bound to the bridge, wandering in search of peace or warning others away from danger. Despite, or perhaps because of its haunting reputation, the bridge continues to attract visitors. From engineers and tourists marveling at its construction to thrill seekers drawn to the story of lost lives and lingering spirits. Guides often caution that while the view is spectacular, there is an undeniable sense of unease in certain areas, particularly near the pedestrian edges or overhangs. Many who have walked a span at night report an almost tangible feeling of presence, an emotional weight that is difficult to shake. Some claim the spirits are restless, their sorrow and energy manifesting in fleeting images, sounds, and cold gusts along the steel arches. Nestled deep within the dense forests near Elkins, West Virginia, the Trestle Bridge has long been a site shrouded in mystery and dark legend. Rising above the valley on rusted iron beams, the bridge stretches across a narrow gorge, its wooden planks weathered and worn from decades of exposure to wind, rain, and neglect. Locals avoid it after dark, and hikers passing nearby often report an unsettling atmosphere, a sense that the forest itself is holding its breath. The bridge's haunted reputation stems from a tragic train derailment that occurred many decades ago, a disaster that claimed numerous lives and, according to legend, left restless spirits lingering on and around the trestle. The story begins in the early 20th century when the bridge was an active part of the regional rail network, carrying passengers and cargo across the rugged terrain of West Virginia. One fateful evening, a freight train overloaded with both people and goods attempted to cross the bridge during a fierce storm. Heavy rains had weakened the wooden supports, and as the train made its way across, a section of the trestle gave way. Cars plunged into the gorge below, and the sounds of splintering wood and screaming passengers filled the night air. Rescue crews arrived hours later, but many bodies were never recovered, claimed by the river and the surrounding wilderness. From that night on, locals say the forest has been haunted by the echoes of that tragedy. Visitors to the Trestle Bridge today often describe hearing the unmistakable sounds of a train that no longer runs along these tracks. At dusk, hikers report hearing a distant whistle echoing through the trees, followed by the rhythmic clattering of wheels on wooden beams. The sounds are unnerving because they seem to approach and recede as if a phantom train is moving across the bridge, despite there being no track maintenance or active rail line for decades. Some say the noises are accompanied by sudden gusts of icy wind, chills that run through the body even on the warmest summer evenings. The air around the bridge is said to feel heavier, thick with an energy that is difficult to explain, almost as if the sorrow of the deceased lingers among the beams and planks. Shadowy apparitions are another commonly reported phenomenon. Explorers venturing onto the trestle have glimpsed figures in old-fashioned clothing, standing or pacing along the bridge's length, their faces obscured or blurred. These figures purportedly vanish when approached, leaving only an unsettling silence. Some hikers swear they've seen silhouettes of people leaning over the edge, as if looking into the gorge below, only to disappear the moment they focus their attention. Paranormal investigators have captured faint orbs of light hovering above the bridge at night, which many interpret as manifestations of the lost souls who never escaped the derailment. The trestle bridge has also been associated with unexplained physical sensations. Visitors report sudden drops in temperature while crossing the bridge, with icy chills appearing out of nowhere. Some claim to feel light touches on their shoulders or the sensation of being watched, even when no one else is present. Others have experienced dizziness, nausea, or a deep, unshakable sense of dread while standing on the wooden planks, as though the weight of the tragedy that occurred there has seeped into the structure itself. These sensations seem to intensify at night, when the surrounding forest is dark and the only light comes from the moon filtering through the canopy. Strange auditory phenomena are also frequently reported. Apart from the phantom train sounds, witnesses have described hearing muffled cries, frantic shouting, and even the creaking of splintering wood. Though the bridge remains intact, the sounds seem to come from all directions, sometimes below the trestle, sometimes from the forest around it, and sometimes directly from the bridge itself. Paranormal researchers suggest that these echoes are residual energies from the disaster, replaying fragments of that fateful night, trapped within the timbers and iron supports. Some hikers report hearing whispers, voices calling out names, or pleading for help, chilling reminders of the human lives lost in the derailment. The bridge's setting adds to its eerie aura. Surrounded by dense forest and rugged terrain, it feels isolated from the modern world, a place where time has seemingly stopped. Fog often rolls through the valley in the early morning or late evening, obscuring the trestle and making the figures and sounds seem even more ghostly. Hikers report that shadows move oddly through the mist, and that the echo of their own footsteps is sometimes joined by another, heavier set of prints that vanish when inspected. Some locals claim that animals avoid the area at night, sensing the unnatural energy lingering around the bridge. Despite its haunted reputation, the trestle bridge continues to draw curious visitors. Ghost hunters and thrill seekers guides caution that it is structurally unsafe in parts, and the paranormal activity can be unsettling, even for experienced hikers. Those who have returned from nighttime excursions often recount stories of chilling whispers, ghostly apparitions, and the sensation of an invisible presence following them through the forest. Photographs sometimes capture unexplained lights or misty figures along the trestle, fueling further speculation about the bridge's haunted nature. The legend of the Trestle Bridge has become a part of local lore, passed down through generations. Many West Virginians warn that the spirits of the lost passengers remain tethered to the site, replaying the night of the derailment endlessly, unable to find peace. Some even suggest that the bridge itself is a portal of sorts, a thin veil between the living and the dead, where the echoes of tragedy are preserved. Whether these stories are true or the product of imagination, they have created an aura of mystery and fear that continues to define the Trestle Bridge. Nestled over the gentle waters of the Buckhannon River, the old covered bridge stands as a charming relic of West Virginia's past. Its weathered wooden beams and classic architecture make it a favorite among photographers, painters, and tourists seeking a glimpse of history. Yet beneath its picturesque exterior lies a darker story, one that has lingered in local lore for decades. The bridge, long admired for its serene beauty, is also known as a site of tragic romance and unexplained phenomena. Locals whisper that on foggy nights, the spirit of a young woman who died there still wanders, searching for her lost love. The tale begins many years ago, in the early 20th century, when the old covered bridge was one of the few crossings over the Buchanan River. A young couple, deeply in love, would often meet at the bridge, exchanging secret notes and stolen kisses beneath its wooden roof. On a misty evening, the young woman, driving to meet her lover, lost control of her car on the slippery planks. The vehicle skidded, plunging into the river below. Despite rescue attempts, she tragically drowned, and her body was never fully recovered. Her grief-stricken lover, unable to bear the loss, reportedly spent the remainder of his days wandering near the bridge, and some say his sorrow joined hers in the afterlife. Since that tragic night, locals have reported strange occurrences surrounding the bridge. The most common sighting is that of a woman in a flowing white dress, appearing amid the fog that often rolls off the river at dusk. Witnesses describe her as standing at the bridge's center, gazing into the mist as though waiting for someone who will never return. Her face is sometimes visible, pale and mournful, while other times only a faint silhouette is discernible. Drifting almost ethereally above the wooden planks, photographers have occasionally captured unusual blurs or lights in their images, suggesting the presence of something not entirely of this world. Visitors have also reported hearing inexplicable sounds at the bridge. The gentle lapping of the river can suddenly be joined by the soft echo of footsteps on the wooden planks, as if someone is pacing slowly across the bridge. Yet, no one is there. Some claim to hear faint sobbing carried by the fog, an almost imperceptible weeping that chills the air and seems to emanate from the bridge itself. Others have heard whispers, soft voices speaking a name, a plea, or fragments of conversation that vanish when approached. These auditory phenomena intensify on foggy nights, leading many to believe that the spirit is drawn to the mist, using it as a cloak to traverse the mortal world. Beyond visual and auditory experiences, some visitors report a profound sense of presence when crossing the bridge at night. A sudden chill, like a cold gust of wind from nowhere, can wash over them, accompanied by an inexplicable heaviness or pressure in the air. Hikers and late-night drivers describe feeling watched, as if unseen eyes follow their movements across the planks. Some claim that the temperature drops so sharply in certain spots that frost seems to form along the wooden beams, even on warmer nights, adding to the bridge's eerie atmosphere. The apparition of the young woman has been observed interacting with the environment in subtle ways. Witnesses describe moments when a hand-shaped fog appears to reach out toward them, or the faint outline of a figure vanishing behind a wooden support beam. On rare occasions, some have reported seeing a second figure, believed to be her lost lover, appearing briefly beside her, before disappearing into the night. Paranormal investigators visiting the site have attempted to capture these phenomena with cameras, audio recorders, and night vision equipment, often reporting inexplicable anomalies that defy conventional explanation. Flickering lights, sudden shadows, and unaccountable sounds seem to confirm that the bridge is more than just a historic structure. It is a liminal space where the living and the dead briefly converge. Despite the ghostly tales, the old covered bridge remains a beloved landmark. Locals continue to drive, walk, and photograph it during the day, while respecting the warnings and stories passed down through generations. Many who have encountered the apparition describe a mixture of awe and melancholy. Sensing the deep sorrow and longing that permeates the bridge, they report that the spirit is not malevolent, but rather a restless presence tied to a tragic love story that could not reach its conclusion. The bridge's beauty and the legends surrounding it have inspired countless stories, articles, and photographs. Writers and storytellers often include it in compilations of haunted locations, citing the tragic accident, the mysterious fog, and the recurring sightings of the young woman. The misty nights along the river seem to act as a natural stage, dramatizing the lingering presence and intensifying the emotional impact for those who venture too close after sunset. Hidden deep in the outskirts of Charleston, West Virginia, the Phantom Bridge exists more in whispers than on any map. Few can pinpoint its exact location, and those who claim to have found it often speak of it with a mixture of awe and fear. Despite its unassuming structure, the bridge has earned a dark reputation, drawing paranormal enthusiasts, thrill-seekers, and locals eager to glimpse the unexplained. Its name Phantom Bridge hints at the eerie events that have plagued visitors for decades, blending elements of the unknown with an atmosphere of creeping dread that hangs heavily over the river below. Reports from those who have crossed the bridge are chillingly consistent. One of the most common phenomena involves vehicles mysteriously stalling mid-span. Drivers recount that engines sputter and die for no apparent mechanical reason, leaving them stranded in an unsettling silence, broken only by the whisper of wind across the steel beams. Some have attempted to restart their cars, only to have them start for a moment before dying again. In many cases, the vehicles refuse to function until the driver steps off the bridge, as if some unseen force demands acknowledgement or passage is contingent on obedience to an invisible rule. Alongside these mechanical anomalies, many visitors describe a sudden drop in temperature upon stepping onto the bridge. The air becomes thick, almost suffocating, and a cold so intense it chills to the bone envelops those who linger. Jackets and blankets that had kept explorers warm moments earlier are no match for the phantom cold. And even in the height of summer, a shiver runs down the spine of anyone standing too long on the bridge. Those who pause often report a heavy sense of being watched, an intangible awareness that unseen eyes follow every movement across the span. Perhaps the most unnerving experiences involve sightings of a mysterious figure. Drivers often claim that, while crossing, they glimpse a reflection in the rearview mirror, a shadowy silhouette sitting silently in the back seat or standing at the far end of the bridge. When the driver stops and turns around, the space is empty, the car vacant except for the confused and terrified occupant. Some who have walked across the bridge on foot report glimpsing a tall, indistinct figure along the guardrails or lurking just at the edge of the fog. The apparition does not appear threatening, yet it exudes a palpable sense of foreboding, a silent warning that the bridge is not meant for casual passage. Auditory phenomena add another layer of unease. Whispered voices, often unintelligible, seem to float in from the fog or echo from the steel beams above. Travelers have described hearing footsteps behind them on the wooden planks, though no one else is present. Some say the bridge emits faint, low moans that carry across the water, sounding eerily human yet impossible to trace. In the dead of night, these sounds intensify, creating an auditory hallucination or perhaps a genuine encounter with those who never crossed to the other side alive. The origins of the Phantom Bridge's reputation are murky. Some local lore claims that the bridge was the site of a tragic accident decades ago, when a vehicle plunged into the river below during a storm. According to these accounts, the driver and passengers were never recovered, leaving behind unsettled spirits that now wander the bridge's span. Others suggest that the bridge stands at a liminal point, a threshold where the living and the dead brush against one another, allowing lost souls or restless entities to make their presence known. Regardless of the origin, those who venture onto the bridge are warned to approach with caution, for the site has earned its name through generations of inexplicable encounters. Paranormal investigators have attempted to document the phenomena at Phantom Bridge with cameras, audio recorders, and motion sensors. Many report capturing anomalies, sudden cold spots on thermal imaging, blurred figures caught in photographs, and faint disembodied whispers on audio recordings. Some researchers speculate that the bridge functions as a sort of supernatural focal point, amplifying residual energies or psychic impressions from past tragedies. Others warn that its power is unpredictable, and those unprepared for what they might encounter risk both physical and psychological distress. Despite, or perhaps because of its chilling reputation, the Phantom Bridge continues to attract visitors, local thrill seekers, paranormal enthusiasts, and photographers hoping to capture its eerie ambience flock to the site, drawn by curiosity and the thrill of confronting the unknown. For some, the bridge offers a story to share, an experience that can be recounted to friends or documented in videos. For others, it leaves a lingering impression, a memory of a cold wind, an unexplained figure, or a shadow that refuses to vanish. Those who have crossed the Phantom Bridge agree on one point. It is not merely a physical structure, but a portal into something far less tangible. It carries the weight of tragedy, the memory of lost lives, and a sense of mystery that seems almost alive. The bridge has become a symbol of the unknown, a place where the ordinary rules of reality falter, and where human perception is challenged by the inexplicable. Whether one believes in spirits or not, the stories persist, passed from local legend to modern storytelling, each encounter reinforcing the bridge's otherworldly reputation. The old iron bridge in Wheeling, West Virginia, stands as a silent witness to more than a century of history. Built during a time when the nation was divided, the bridge played a strategic role during the Civil War, linking key points along the Ohio River and serving as a vital crossing for troops and supplies. Its sturdy iron beams, weathered and rusted by decades of exposure, seem unremarkable to the casual passerby. Yet, for those who venture close, the bridge carries an air of foreboding, as if it holds the memories of the countless lives lost upon and around it. The stories passed down by locals speak not just of history, but of lingering spirits, echoing the violence and sorrow that once unfolded along its span. Eyewitness accounts from those who have dared to cross the bridge at night are chillingly consistent. Many describe hearing the distant sounds of marching boots, a steady cadence that rises and falls with the rhythm of ghostly soldiers traversing the length of the iron structure. The noise seems both near and impossibly far, as if the footsteps exist in a separate plane, echoing memories of soldiers long gone. Even the faint crack of cannon fire is sometimes reported, startling visitors who know the bridge has been silent for decades. The sound carries through the cold night air, leaving an eerie sense that the past is not truly past, but trapped in a moment, replaying endlessly for anyone sensitive enough to perceive it. Sightings of apparitions add another layer of unease. Witnesses claim to have seen soldiers in tattered Confederate and Union uniforms standing rigidly on the bridge, their eyes fixed forward as if awaiting orders. Some describe the figures fading into mist the moment they attempt to approach, leaving only an unsettling stillness in their wake. Others have reported fleeting glimpses of spectral cavalry crossing the bridge, their horses' hooves striking iron as though the battlefield itself has manifested within the bridge's worn framework. These apparitions are not violent. Rather, they exude a sense of lingering duty, a reflection of the unfinished business and sacrifice that stained the area during the Civil War. The bridge's iron girders seem to amplify every sensation. A sudden gust of wind might carry whispers that sound eerily like commands shouted by officers or the plaintive cries of men calling for comrades. Shadows stretch unnaturally along the planks, forming shapes that suggest human figures standing silently, their presence almost tangible. Some visitors have reported an unshakable feeling of being watched from every angle, an oppressive awareness that the bridge itself is alive with memory, observing intruders as they traverse its span. Even in daylight, there is an inexplicable heaviness, a quiet dread that hints at the bridge's storied and violent past. Local legend holds that the old iron bridge was the site of skirmishes and ambushes during the Civil War, and that many soldiers died attempting to defend or seize its crossing. Some say that bodies were never recovered from the river below, leaving souls trapped near the bridge, bound to the iron structure where their final moments unfolded. Fishermen along the Ohio River sometimes claim to see figures in uniform along the riverbanks or standing on the bridge, disappearing without a trace. Others report hearing muffled cries or the sudden splash of water, as if a ghostly soldier has fallen once again. Paranormal investigators who have explored the bridge note unusual readings, temperature drops, magnetic disturbances, and EVP recordings of indistinct whispers suggest that the bridge is a hotspot for spectral activity. Cameras occasionally capture blurred figures or lights that appear to move independently of the surroundings. Some theorists propose that the old iron bridge functions as a residual energy site, where the trauma and intensity of battle have left an imprint on the physical environment, replaying itself for those who pass through. whether this is a trick of the mind or evidence of lingering spirits. The accounts are numerous and difficult to dismiss entirely. Those who cross the bridge often describe a combination of awe and fear. The structure itself is imposing, stretching over the river, with the weight of history pressing down on every beam and girder. The sounds and apparitions are subtle at first, a distant footstep, a shadow flitting across the boards, but they intensify with time spent on the bridge. For many, this is enough to send them retreating, hearts pounding as they leave the echoes of battle behind. Others, drawn by curiosity or the thrill of the paranormal, remain to observe, documenting every strange sight and sound, hoping to capture proof of the bridge's haunted legacy. Despite the eerie phenomena, the old iron bridge continues to be a point of fascination. Its combination of historical significance and paranormal reputation attracts both history enthusiasts and ghost hunters. The bridge serves as a tangible connection to the past, a place where the sacrifices of soldiers are remembered, not just through plaques and textbooks, but through the inexplicable experiences that suggest those who perished may never have truly left. The bridge is a bridge not only across the river, but across time itself, linking the living with echoes of the past. In Morgantown, West Virginia, there exists a bridge known among locals as the Ghost Bridge, a structure that spans a quiet bend in the Monongahela River. On most days, it seems ordinary enough, a simple, aging bridge that carries cars and pedestrians across the water without fanfare. But as the sun dips low and mist begins to curl over the river, an uneasy atmosphere settles upon the bridge, one that has given rise to the stories that have been whispered for generations. Central to these tales is the tragic legend of a bride-to-be who met her untimely death in the river, a spirit said to haunt the bridge she never got to cross with her beloved. The story goes that many decades ago, a young woman was preparing for her wedding, excited and full of hope. She was dressed in her gown, the ivory fabric catching the sunlight as she made her way to meet her fiancé at the riverside. The couple planned to cross the bridge together, a symbolic gesture before their ceremony, but fate intervened, tragically. Somewhere along the span, the bride slipped or perhaps was swept by the current into the river below. Despite frantic efforts to rescue her, she drowned, leaving her groom and family in despair. From that moment, locals say, her spirit never left the bridge, endlessly retracing the steps she never completed, forever searching for the love that was cruelly taken from her. Those who dare to cross the bridge after dark report strange occurrences almost immediately. The air grows noticeably colder, and a heavy, sorrowful presence seems to press upon visitors from every direction. Some describe hearing the faint rustle of fabric, as if a wedding gown is brushing against the boards or railings. Others report soft, melancholy cries carried by the wind, echoing over the river as though the bride herself is calling out. The sounds are subtle at first, easily dismissed as the rustling of leaves or the hum of traffic, but for those who linger, they become unmistakable an ethereal lament that seems to emanate from the very heart of the bridge. Sightings of the ghostly bride are the most chilling accounts. People who have crossed the bridge during the late hours tell of glimpsing a figure in white standing near the middle, gazing down into the dark water below. Her face is often described as sorrowful, her eyes filled with longing and despair. When approached, she does not respond, does not move toward or away. Instead, she slowly fades into the mist, leaving behind only an eerie stillness. Some witnesses have even reported seeing her glancing toward the far end of the bridge, as if expecting someone who will never arrive. A tragic figure frozen in the moment of loss and yearning. The phenomenon is not limited to visual encounters. Some visitors claim to feel sudden, inexplicable chills, as though the temperature around them has plummeted. Others feel an almost tangible pressure, a sense of being observed, and even a quiet tug on their clothing, as though an unseen hand is reaching for them. A few have reported hearing whispers, indistinct and mournful, that seem to carry messages of sorrow or pleas for help. Some have said that the sound of footsteps behind them can be heard on the wooden planks of the bridge, yet, when they turn, no one is there. These experiences leave many shaken. a reminder that the bridge may serve as a liminal space where the living brush up against the echoes of the dead. Paranormal enthusiasts have long been drawn to the ghost bridge, documenting the unusual phenomena through cameras, audio equipment, and personal observation. Many capture fleeting, mist-like shapes on film, or hear faint, indecipherable whispers in recordings. Some have attempted to communicate with the spirit, using tools such as EVP recorders, reporting brief responses, though the words are always unclear, like fragments of a story frozen in time. Skeptics may attribute these experiences to imagination, wind, or ambient noise. But the consistency of reports over decades suggests that something more profound lingers on the bridge, a presence tied to the deep grief and unfinished story of the bride. Local lore has amplified the bridge's reputation. Parents warn children to avoid crossing alone at night, and couples are said to visit during the day, leaving small tokens of remembrance in hopes of appeasing the restless spirit. Flowers, ribbons, and notes have occasionally been found near the railings, placed by those who feel compelled to honor the bride's memory. Such gestures only add to the sense that the bridge is not simply a site of fear, but also a place of remembrance, where the living acknowledge the sorrow of a life tragically cut short. Over time, the ghost bridge has become more than a tale of tragedy. It is a reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of love and loss. Those who visit the bridge late at night often speak of a strange mixture of fear and empathy, a feeling that they are walking through the echoes of someone else's sorrow, a sorrow that refuses to dissipate with time. For some, the experience is terrifying. For others, it is profoundly moving, an intimate brush with a spirit tied to an event long past yet never truly ended. In Lewisburg, West Virginia, there exists a structure both admired and feared. The Devil's Bridge, nestled over a winding, shadowy gorge. The bridge is a feat of old-world engineering, its stone archway rising dramatically above the river below. By day, it appears as an ordinary relic of the past, blending seamlessly with the surrounding landscape. Yet as night falls and fog creeps along the riverbanks, the bridge transforms into something far more sinister, a place where legends and fear intertwine, and where the veil between the living and the supernatural is said to grow thin. The origins of the Devil's Bridge are steeped in local folklore. According to legend, the bridge's construction faced insurmountable challenges. The gorge was treacherous, the river unpredictable, and the builders were unable to complete the project despite their skill and determination. Desperate to finish the bridge, it is said that the master mason made a pact with the devil himself. The bridge would be completed in exchange for a soul, a life claimed as payment for the devil's aid. The construction was miraculously completed, but the legend holds that the bridge was forever cursed, a place imbued with malevolent energy and dark intent. Locals speak of eerie encounters that have persisted for generations. Those who approach the bridge after dusk often report an overwhelming sense of dread, a sensation that is nearly physical, pressing against the chest and slowing the heart. Some claim that as they draw near the stone arch, a figure emerges, a dark silhouette with eyes that glow a deep, unnatural red. This apparition is said to appear without warning, standing at the entrance to the bridge, as if guarding the cursed structure and warning travelers to turn back. Those who ignore the warning often tell of their senses heightening, every sound amplified, the rustle of leaves, the creak of old timbers, the whisper of wind through the gorge, blending into a symphony of unease. The malevolence of the bridge is said to manifest in more than just visual phenomena. Travelers report sudden drops in temperature as they step onto the bridge, chills that seem to seep into their bones. Others have described feeling invisible hands pressing against them or gripping their shoulders, urging them to retreat. Vehicles crossing the bridge sometimes stall inexplicably, headlights flickering, engines dying, leaving drivers stranded in the oppressive darkness. The air is said to grow thick with an unidentifiable stench, a sulfurous odor that hints at the legend of the infernal pact. Witnesses who have dared to linger speak of shadowy figures moving along the bridge, disappearing when approached. Some have reported hearing low guttural whispers, words indistinct but filled with menace, as though unseen entities are conspiring just out of sight. Others have heard cries of anguish, echoing over the river below, chilling reminders of the bridge's cursed origin. For many, the sensation of being watched is relentless, a quiet terror that persists even after leaving the bridge's vicinity. A psychological imprint left by the darkness of the place. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to the Devil's Bridge, documenting its strange occurrences through night vision cameras, audio recorders, and personal observation. Many report capturing fleeting figures on film, often appearing as shadowy shapes with glowing eyes. Audio recordings sometimes reveal whispers, distorted and eerie, that have no identifiable source. Some investigators claim to have felt a sudden surge of malevolent energy, a pressure that makes standing on the bridge feel impossible, as if the bridge itself is alive with the power of the curse. Despite these warnings, thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts continue to visit the bridge, drawn by its reputation and the allure of confronting the unknown. Stories abound of those who approach the bridge cautiously, only to feel compelled to flee, mid-crossing, hearts racing, minds reeling from the intensity of the sensations. Others claim to have seen figures moving beneath the bridge in the river's mist, perhaps the souls bound by the pact, forever trapped in service to the malevolent entity that oversaw the bridge's construction. The Devil's Bridge is not merely a site of fear. It is a symbol of human ambition intersecting with supernatural consequence. The legend serves as a reminder of the power attributed to pacts with dark forces, and the way that fear can manifest in places steeped in history and tragedy. Even those who approach with skepticism often leave uneasy, their imaginations feeding off the oppressive atmosphere. The isolation of the gorge and the centuries-old tales passed down by generations of Lewisburg residents. At times, the bridge appears almost normal in the daylight, its stonework elegant, its arch sturdy. Yet even in the sun, those familiar with its history speak of an uneasy aura, a lingering sense that something is watching, waiting, a presence that does not rest. The fog, the shadows, and the darkness at night amplify what has always been there. A warning that some structures are more than mere stone and mortar, that places can retain the energy of the deeds done in their construction and the legends woven around them. Over the years, the Devil's Bridge has become a point of fascination, a dark landmark in Lewisburg. Visitors continue to report encounters, stories are shared, and the legend persists. Whether one believes in the supernatural or sees it as a psychological phenomenon, the bridge's chilling history leaves an impression that is difficult to shake. Its red-eyed guardian, the heavy sense of evil, and the tales of those who dared to cross and regretted it serve as constant reminders of a dark past that refuses to fade. In the quiet town of Clarksburg, West Virginia, there lies a bridge that has long been the subject of whispered conversations and fearful glances. Known simply as the Haunted Bridge, it spans a narrow, winding river, connecting to sections of town that are otherwise ordinary in appearance. During the day, it seems unremarkable, its worn wooden planks and rusted iron supports blending seamlessly with the surrounding landscape. Yet, when night falls and the mist rises from the river below, the bridge takes on a far more sinister character. A place where sorrow and the supernatural converge. Local legend holds that the bridge is haunted by the spirit of a woman who suffered an unimaginable tragedy. Many years ago, it is said that she lost her young child in a devastating accident near the river. Some versions of the story claim the child fell into the swift current while playing near the bridge, while others suggest a carriage or wagon met with disaster on the bridge itself, resulting in the child's untimely death. The grief-stricken mother, unable to bear her loss, vanished from the town, her fate unknown. Over time, the locals began to report strange occurrences at the bridge, attributing them to her restless spirit, unable to find peace. Those who venture near the bridge after dark often speak of a chilling presence, an oppressive weight that seems to hang in the cold night air. Many have described hearing the sound of soft, heart-wrenching sobs drifting across the planks. A cry that seems almost human but carries a spectral quality, echoing across the water and into the surrounding woods. Some say the wailing is so realistic that it can bring even the bravest visitors to their knees. a raw and piercing grief that seems to resonate from the very soul of the bridge itself. Occasionally, witnesses have glimpsed a figure moving along the bridge, a woman, pale and ethereal, dressed in flowing garments that seem to shift and ripple as if caught in an invisible wind. Her form is often fleeting, appearing at the far end of the bridge before vanishing when approached, leaving only the sound of her continued cries behind. Those who claim to have seen her report a feeling of overwhelming sadness, as if her sorrow seeps into the air itself, pressing down upon all who dare to step onto the bridge. Paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers have been drawn to the haunted bridge over the years, hoping to capture evidence of the spectral woman. Many arrive with recording equipment, night vision cameras, and audio devices, yet the results are often as eerie as they are inconclusive. Audio recordings frequently capture faint crying or whispering, sometimes punctuated by the sound of footsteps on the wooden planks. Cameras occasionally record fleeting shadows or indistinct shapes, often too blurred to fully discern. Even those skeptical of the supernatural often leave the bridge with an uneasy feeling, their senses heightened by the isolation and the persistent tales of grief and tragedy. The bridge's reputation is not limited to auditory or visual phenomena. Some visitors report sudden temperature drops as they cross, a chill that seems unnatural and bone-deep, often accompanied by an inexplicable heaviness in the chest. Others have described a feeling of being watched, the sensation that unseen eyes follow their every step, intensifying the tension with each movement. The combination of these experiences, sounds, sights, and sensations, has cemented the haunted bridge as one of Clarksburg's most unsettling locales. Locals have their own superstitions and precautions. Many avoid the bridge entirely after dark, fearing not just the ghostly presence, but also the emotional weight that accompanies it. Some claim that attempting to comfort the spirit, whether by speaking to her or leaving small offerings, can provoke a stronger manifestation of her grief. Others warn that those who linger too long risk being overwhelmed by the profound sadness that lingers in the night air, an empathy for a mother's loss that seems to cross the barrier between life and death. Stories of encounters vary widely. One visitor recounted approaching the bridge late at night to test the legend. As he stepped onto the wooden planks, a sudden, chilling sob echoed across the water. He froze, convinced he saw a figure in white gliding along the far side of the bridge. When he tried to approach, the figure disappeared, leaving only the sound of soft weeping that seemed to follow him even as he retreated. Another account tells of a group of teenagers daring each other to cross. One of them reported feeling invisible hands pressing lightly on their shoulders, urging them to turn back, while the cries of the woman grew louder and more anguished. Even in daylight, some claim the bridge retains an eerie energy. Those familiar with its story say the air feels heavier, the mist over the river more oppressive, as if the shadow of grief lingers long after the sun rises. Photographers attempting to capture the bridge in the daytime sometimes report inexplicable streaks or smudges in their images, which some believe to be the lingering presence of the woman's spirit. The haunted bridge in Clarksburg is a poignant reminder of tragedy, sorrow, and the human connection to the supernatural. It is more than a structure of wood and iron. It is a vessel of grief, a liminal space where the boundary between the living and the dead blurs. Visitors who cross it, whether seeking thrills or confronting fear, are often left with a lasting impression of sadness and unease, an emotional residue of the story that gave the bridge its haunted reputation. In the historic town of Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, there is a bridge steeped in sorrow and legend, known to locals as the Widow's Bridge. Its stone and iron arches span the Potomac River with quiet dignity during the day, but when darkness falls and storms roll across the sky, the bridge takes on an eerie presence, its atmosphere heavy with grief and lingering spirits. The story behind the bridge's haunting has been passed down for generations, a tale of love, loss, and a restless soul trapped between the realms of the living and the dead. The legend begins with a woman known only as the widow, a young bride who had recently married a soldier. Her husband was called to fight in a distant war, leaving her to wait in the quiet town for his return. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and eventually, she received the devastating news that her husband had perished in battle. The grief was unbearable, and in her sorrow, she made her way to the bridge overlooking the river, a place where the world seemed suspended and time slowed. In a moment of despair, she leaped from the bridge, her life claimed by the very waters that had always reflected her dreams of reunion. Since that tragic night, the Widow's Bridge has gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Those who venture onto the bridge after dark, particularly on stormy nights when the wind howls through the arches and rain lashes against the river below, often report a heavy, almost tangible sense of sadness that seems to hang in the air. Many describe seeing a pale figure at the center of the bridge, dressed in flowing garments that appear soaked by an invisible rain. Her face turned toward the river as if waiting for someone who will never return. Some say that even from a distance, her sorrow is palpable, an emotional weight that presses against the chest and clings to the soul. Visitors to the bridge frequently report hearing unexplained sounds that defy explanation. The soft echo of footsteps along the wooden planks appears when no one is there, and at times, faint whispers can be heard, as if carried by the wind. These sounds are often accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, the coldness intensifying the sense of unease. Some who have lingered long enough claim to hear the sorrowful sobs of the widow, a mournful sound that seems to blend with the rushing of the river below, creating an auditory illusion that is both heart-wrenching and terrifying. Several accounts describe moments when the widow's apparition seems almost human in her movements. Witnesses have reported seeing her slowly pacing along the bridge, her gaze fixed on the dark waters beneath, as though measuring time and distance for an eternal reunion. In some cases, passers-by have claimed to feel the brush of an unseen hand against their shoulder, a fleeting contact that vanishes the moment it is acknowledged. Others have felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness or despair, as though the widow's grief has seeped into the air itself, infecting all who cross the bridge after sunset. Stormy nights are said to amplify the haunting, with lightning illuminating the widow's ghostly figure for brief, unforgettable moments. The wind seems to carry her presence further, whistling through the iron beams of the bridge and creating a chorus of sorrow that chills the heart. Locals caution that those who venture onto the bridge during such nights may experience a sense of time distortion, as if minutes stretch into hours while the widow's spirit lingers nearby. Some who have approached her apparition report that she disappears before any contact can be made, leaving only the sound of the river and the memory of her grief behind. The bridge's haunted reputation has attracted ghost hunters and paranormal investigators from across the region. Equipped with cameras, thermal imaging devices, and audio recorders, they seek evidence of the widow's presence. Many capture unexplained cold spots, faint apparitions, or ghostly sounds that vanish upon review. However, the most compelling experiences often elude technology, moments of raw emotional connection that leave visitors both awed and unnerved. Even skeptics often leave the bridge with an unsettling awareness that something beyond the natural world resides there, a sorrow too deep to be measured or ignored. Locals have woven protective rituals and superstitions around the bridge. Some avoid crossing it entirely on stormy nights, while others leave small tokens, such as flowers or candles, hoping to honor the widow's memory and ease her lingering pain. Those who approach with respect often report less intense paranormal experiences, while those who dare to provoke or mock the legend sometimes encounter more aggressive phenomena, like sudden gusts of wind or the sensation of being followed across the bridge. The bridge has thus become a place where caution, respect, and curiosity intersect, a delicate balance between the living and the spirit world. The Widow's Bridge stands as a testament to the enduring power of grief and love beyond death. It is more than a physical structure. It is a monument to tragedy, a place where history, memory, and the supernatural intertwine. Those who witness the apparition or hear the mournful cries are reminded that some losses leave marks that persist across generations, etching sorrow into the very landscape. Visitors who come to the bridge, whether seeking thrills, historical insights, or a brush with the supernatural, often leave with a sense of awe, tinged with melancholy. The story of the widow resonates because it is universal love loss, and the longing for reunion are feelings that cross time and space. In the shadow of the bridge, these emotions are made tangible as the widow continues her endless vigil, gazing into the river below, waiting for a reunion that will never come. In the quiet outskirts of Salem, West Virginia, there is a bridge shrouded in darkness and mystery, known to locals as the Crybaby Bridge. By day, it is an unassuming structure spanning a narrow stretch of water, surrounded by dense woods and overgrown paths. But when night falls, the bridge transforms into a place of eerie sounds and lingering sorrow, a site where local legend has taken root and refused to fade. The tale begins long ago, though its origins are unclear and whispered in fragmented versions across generations. According to the most common story, a young mother, driven by anger and desperation, threw her infant into the river below the bridge. Some say it was an act of rage spurred by betrayal or heartbreak. Others claim it was the result of a momentary lapse in sanity. Regardless of the reason, the tragedy left an indelible mark on the area. The child's spirit, the legend holds, never found peace. Instead, the cries of the baby are said to echo through the woods and over the water, heard only by those who dare to cross the bridge at night. Visitors who venture to Crybaby Bridge after dark often describe a heavy, unsettling silence before the first hints of the haunting begin. The air seems colder, the shadows longer, and the sounds of the night amplified in ways that feel unnatural. Then, in the distance, the unmistakable sound of a baby crying can be heard, faint at first, but growing clearer as one approaches the bridge. Those who hear it often report that it is not a sound carried by the wind or by any nearby wildlife. It seems to emanate from the very planks of the bridge itself, vibrating through the soles of one's shoes and the bones of one's body. The cries are said to vary in intensity. Sometimes they are soft and mournful, a whispering wail that evokes pity and sorrow. At other times, the sound is loud and piercing, a shrill lament that cuts through the night and freezes the blood. Many who have crossed the bridge recount feeling an inexplicable sadness, as if the child's anguish is pressing down upon them, compelling them to hurry across to escape the unbearable weight of grief. Some claim that the cries grow louder if they pause or attempt to look around, urging them forward with a spectral insistence. Sightings are rarer than the cries, but those who claim to have seen the spirit describe a small, shadowy figure near the center of the bridge or hovering just above the water. The apparition appears faint and ethereal, sometimes illuminated by the pale glow of the moon or reflected light from passing cars. Witnesses report that the figure vanishes the moment they attempt to approach, leaving only the echo of the cries behind. In some accounts, the figure seems almost translucent, like a misty outline, while in others, it appears disturbingly human, as if frozen in the moment of its tragic end. Locals advise caution when visiting the bridge, particularly after nightfall. The surrounding area is dense with trees, and the water below can be treacherous, especially in the winter or after heavy rains. Many believe that those who disrespect the legend or attempt to provoke the spirit may encounter more aggressive phenomena. Reports include sudden chills, unexplained movements in the shadows, and the sensation of being watched by unseen eyes. Some say the baby's cries can even follow travelers away from the bridge, lingering in their ears long after they have left. A haunting reminder of the tragedy that occurred there. Paranormal investigators have visited Crybaby Bridge to capture evidence of the haunting. Equipped with recording devices, night vision cameras, and temperature sensors, they have documented some unexplained phenomena. Audio recordings sometimes pick up faint wailing or sobbing sounds not present when the investigators were on site, while thermal cameras occasionally detect cold spots or shadowy shapes crossing the bridge. However, much of the haunting defies scientific measurement. The emotional weight, the sorrow, and the fear are deeply felt by those present, making the experience intensely personal and difficult to explain. The legend of Crybaby Bridge has endured because it taps into universal fears and emotions. The vulnerability of a child, the pain of loss, and the unknowable nature of tragedy. The cries are more than sounds. They are a manifestation of grief and anguish, frozen in time, echoing across decades and touching all who encounter them. The bridge has become a place where the past bleeds into the present, a location where history is not written in books, but experienced in shivers, sobs, and the cold brush of air along the spine. For some, Crybaby Bridge is a source of fascination, a place to test courage or explore the supernatural. For others, it is a site of solemn reflection, a reminder of the fragility of life and the consequences of human actions. Visitors often leave with a sense of awe, tinged with unease. As the cries fade into the distance and the night resumes its quiet dominance, the legend persists because it is anchored not only in a tragic story, but also in the enduring fear and sorrow it evokes. The Lover's Leap Bridge in Fayetteville, West Virginia, stands as both a scenic landmark and a monument to tragic love. By day, the bridge appears serene, its aged structure arching gracefully over the flowing waters below, surrounded by dense trees and quiet country roads. Yet, as night falls, the bridge transforms into a place heavy with sorrow, a haunting ground where the story of star-crossed lovers continues to echo through time. The legend of Lover's Leap Bridge begins many decades ago. A young couple, deeply in love but separated by strict family disapproval, chose to defy the constraints placed upon them. They met secretly on the bridge one evening, their hearts heavy with despair and hope alike, and in a final act of devotion, they leaped together into the river below. Some versions of the story say they held hands tightly, refusing to let go, while others suggest that the young woman lingered just long enough to whisper a farewell before they fell. Their deaths shocked the local community, and from that night onward, whispers of their spirits began to circulate among the townspeople. Visitors who venture to Lover's Leap Bridge at night report a palpable change in the air. The temperature seems to drop suddenly as one approaches, a chill that is not caused by the wind. The surrounding trees appear to close in, their branches creaking like voices in the darkness. Many who have crossed the bridge after sunset describe an eerie sensation of being watched, as if unseen eyes follow their every step. The atmosphere is heavy with grief, a weight that is almost tangible, pressing down on anyone daring enough to walk across the bridge after dark. The most common and chilling reports involve sightings of the couple themselves. On moonlit nights, some witnesses claim to see two figures walking hand in hand along the bridge, their forms faint and ethereal. The apparitions appear timeless, dressed in clothing reminiscent of decades past. The young woman in a flowing dress and the man in a simple shirt and trousers. They move slowly, deliberately, as though replaying the moment before their tragic leap. When approached, these figures are said to vanish, leaving only the quiet ripple of the river below and a lingering sense of longing. Other encounters are less visual and more auditory. Some visitors report hearing faint laughter, soft and sorrowful, echoing from the center of the bridge. Others speak of whispered conversations carried on the wind, words that cannot be understood but carry the unmistakable tone of intimacy and sorrow. Footsteps, too, are commonly reported, two sets of soft, synchronized steps following travelers along the bridge, fading away as suddenly as they begin. Occasionally, the sound of a splash in the water below is heard, though no one is there to make it, a chilling reminder of the couple's final plunge. Those who linger on the bridge often speak of an overwhelming sense of melancholy, a deep, persistent sadness that seems to emanate from the very structure itself. It is as though the bridge remembers the lover's despair and the town's shock, carrying those emotions forward through generations. Many feel compelled to leave quickly, unable to endure the sorrow, while a few more daring souls linger, hoping to catch a glimpse of the ghostly pair, or hear the whispers of a love that defied death itself. Paranormal enthusiasts have long been drawn to Lover's Leap Bridge, eager to document the unexplained phenomena. Night vision cameras have captured fleeting shadows moving across the bridge, while audio recorders occasionally pick up faint laughter or whispered voices that cannot be attributed to any living person. Investigators report sudden cold spots, the sensation of being brushed by unseen hands, and a heaviness in the chest that intensifies the longer one remains on the bridge. Despite modern tools and technology, much of the haunting defies explanation, leaving visitors with experiences that are intensely personal and often deeply unsettling. The legend persists because it touches on universal themes: love, loss, and the yearning for unity beyond the boundaries of life. The spirits of the young couple embodied the idea that some bonds are so strong that not even death can sever them. The bridge has become a place where romance and tragedy intertwine, a location where the past is not merely remembered, but relived through the chilling and beautiful echoes of those who came before. Locals continued to warn outsiders of the bridge's haunting, especially on quiet nights when the air is thick with mist and the moon casts pale light across the water. Many advise travelers to show respect, speaking softly and walking cautiously, for the spirits are said to respond to thoughtlessness or mockery with increased intensity. Some claim that those who disrespect the site experience disorienting events, sudden gusts of wind, flickering lights, or the sensation of being touched by cold hands, urging them to leave. The Lover Asleep Bridge stands as a poignant reminder that love and tragedy are inseparable in human memory. For those who dare to visit at night, the bridge offers a haunting glimpse into the past, where two lovers walk hand in hand forever, their devotion undimmed by death. It is a place of sorrow, yes, but also of enduring romance, where the faint echoes of footsteps, laughter, and whispered words continue to haunt the quiet waters below. Travelers, ghost hunters, and romantics alike often leave with a profound sense of awe, touched by the haunting beauty of a love that could not be contained by life or lost to the river below. Near the quiet outskirts of Beckley, West Virginia, an abandoned bridge juts across a narrow ravine, forgotten by time and shrouded in the eerie silence of decay. Its rusted iron beams and crumbling supports tell a story of neglect. Yet beneath its broken structure lies a far darker tale, one that continues to haunt those who dare approach the site. Locals rarely speak of the bridge openly, but whispered accounts reveal that it is a place of tragedy, where miners lost their lives in a sudden collapse decades ago, and their restless spirits remain trapped in the shadows of the ruined crossing. The story begins during the early 20th century, when coal mining was at its peak in the Beckley area. Miners often used the bridge to reach a remote part of the mine, carrying their tools and supplies across the treacherous span. One fateful day, a group of men were returning from their labor deep in the mountains when the bridge gave way beneath their weight. The wooden planks splintered, the iron supports groaned, and the miners plummeted into the rocky ravine below. Rescue teams arrived too late for some, while others were never recovered. From that day on, the bridge was abandoned, left to decay, while the memory of the men's tragic deaths lingered in the community. Over the years, reports of paranormal activity began to surface. Hikers and adventurous teenagers who ventured near the bridge at night speak of sudden drops in temperature, the cold settling into their bones with no apparent source. Many have reported hearing the sound of footsteps on the rotten planks, synchronized as if a line of miners is still attempting to cross the bridge. Some describe a series of rhythmic thuds, o's of pickaxes, striking stone, resonating from beneath the bridge, accompanied by the faint scent of coal dust carried on the wind. Witnesses often recount strange, fleeting shadows near the bridge's edges. A dark figure may appear at the top of the ravine, only to vanish when approached. At times, multiple silhouettes can be seen, moving with an unnatural, synchronized pace, as if the miners are caught in an eternal march. Some who linger too long report a sensation of being watched, a heavy, almost tangible presence pressing down on their shoulders, urging them to leave before something unseen approaches from the darkness. One particularly chilling account comes from a group of explorers who visited the bridge during a misty autumn night. As they approached, the air grew unnaturally cold, and a faint humming began a sound like the distant chant of men at work. Stepping onto the bridge, they claimed to see shadowy forms moving beneath the broken beams, disappearing into the blackness whenever anyone tried to focus on them. One of the group, a local with ties to the coal mining community, later said he could feel a miner's hand brush against his arm, though no one else was nearby. The experience left them shaken, and they hurried away, leaving the bridge and its unseen occupants behind. stories of ghostly miners have persisted for decades. Some locals believe that the spirits are bound to the bridge, forced to repeat the journey that ended in tragedy. Others claim the men are attempting to warn the living of the dangers that remain in the old mining region. Those who listen carefully report hearing faint cries, murmurs in the darkness, and the creaking of old wood and metal that cannot be explained by wind or age alone. The abandoned bridge has also attracted paranormal investigators over the years. Using night vision cameras and audio equipment, they have recorded inexplicable phenomena. Flickering lights appear in the middle of the bridge, moving against the direction of the wind. Audio recordings have captured distant voices, some calling out names, others muttering in tones of despair. Investigators have noted cold spots that move with them as they explore, and some report that the bridge seems to react to their presence, creaking or groaning at moments when no structural shift is evident. Even those who approach the bridge during the day report an unsettling feeling, a sense that the bridge is not merely abandoned but inhabited by memories too heavy to fade. The surrounding forest amplifies every creak and whisper, and shadows cast by the late afternoon sun create strange illusions, resembling figures standing or crouching along the iron beams. Locals advise caution, warning that the bridge is not just physically dangerous but spiritually charged, a place where the past refuses to remain buried. The legend of the abandoned bridge serves as a reminder of the region's history and the lives lost in pursuit of labor and survival. It is a testament to tragedy that refuses to be forgotten, and for those who encounter it, the haunting is not merely a story but a palpable experience. The miners who perished may never find peace, their presence lingering in the cold air, in the rhythmic sounds of pickaxes, and in the fleeting shadows that flit across the broken planks. Visitors often leave the site with an uneasy respect, sensing that the bridge is more than a relic of industry. It is a memorial, marked by sorrow and the restless energy of those who died too soon. The abandoned bridge in Beckley stands as a chilling example of how history, tragedy, and the supernatural can intertwine, creating a place where the living brush against the echoes of the past. In the quiet outskirts of Huntington, West Virginia, a bridge known simply as the Forgotten Bridge stretches across a narrow, tree-lined ravine. Once a vital crossing for locals and travelers, the bridge fell into disuse decades ago and has since been claimed by the encroaching forest. Its rusted supports and crumbling wooden planks make it treacherous to cross, yet the true danger may not lie in its physical decay. Locals whisper that the Forgotten Bridge carries the weight of sorrow, tragedy, and restless spirits, and those who dare approach often leave with an unease that lingers long after their visit. The bridge's origin dates back to the early 1900s, when it served as a passageway for workers, farmers, and children walking to school. Over the years, accidents occurred, some tragic, others mysterious. One story tells of a young man who disappeared while attempting to cross during a spring flood. His body was never recovered, and the townspeople say his spirit returned to the bridge, trapped by the suddenness of his death. Others recount incidents in which travelers simply vanished, leaving no trace behind, fueling rumors that the bridge itself has a malevolent hold on those who step onto its worn planks. Reports of paranormal activity at the Forgotten Bridge began surfacing in the late 20th century. People walking near the bridge after dark frequently describe a sudden drop in temperature, an icy chill that creeps along their spine and wraps around them like an unseen hand. Some have claimed to hear faint footsteps behind them, echoing across the wooden beams. Yet when they turn, the path is empty. Shadows often appear at the bridge's edge, sometimes resembling human figures frozen in place, only to vanish the moment anyone dares approach. One particularly chilling experience comes from a group of teenagers who ventured to the bridge on a foggy autumn night. As they stepped onto the creaking wooden planks, the air became suffocatingly heavy, pressing down on them as though the bridge itself exhaled grief. One of the group claimed to see a figure standing silently at the far edge of the bridge, a man in tattered clothing, staring into the fog. When they called out to him and moved closer, the figure simply disappeared into thin air. Moments later, a sorrowful wail echoed through the ravine, sending the group fleeing in terror. Visitors often report an overwhelming sense of sadness while crossing the forgotten bridge. This emotional weight is unlike ordinary fear. It is as if the bridge absorbs the grief of those who died upon it and releases it to anyone who walks across. Some say they have felt compelled to stop midway, overcome by a longing for people they have never known or events that never touched their lives. Others describe seeing fleeting images in the mist, glimpses of the lost travelers, reaching out as if asking for help, only to vanish when observed directly. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to the bridge over the years, seeking evidence of the spectral activity. Using thermal cameras and audio equipment, they have recorded sudden cold spots and unexplained noises that resemble whispers carried by the wind. Occasionally, cameras capture shadowy shapes moving across the bridge, though no person is present. Investigators often note that the bridge seems almost alive, reacting to their presence with groaning planks and subtle shifts in temperature, as if acknowledging intruders in its domain. Some believe the bridge is cursed, a thin boundary between the living and the dead, where time itself has little meaning. The disappearance of so many individuals over the decades contributes to this notion. Witnesses claim that even during the day, the bridge exudes an oppressive atmosphere, a heavy feeling that warns them to turn back. The surrounding forest, dense and shadowy, only intensifies the sense of isolation, making it feel as though one has entered a place outside of the normal world. Local legend tells of a spirit that walks the bridge on rainy nights, a lone figure, carrying an unseen burden, perhaps a soul searching for the one it lost. Those who have encountered this presence report a feeling of intense sorrow and the unmistakable impression that the spirit is trying to communicate, conveying a story of untimely death and unresolved grief. Even animals seem uneasy near the bridge. Hikers often note that birds avoid the area, and dogs may refuse to cross, sensing the unseen weight pressing down upon them. Despite its danger, the forgotten bridge continues to attract thrill seekers, paranormal enthusiasts, and those drawn to the macabre. Many leave the site shaken, feeling the lingering presence of those who perished, haunted not only by what they saw, but by the heavy emotional residue left behind. The bridge has become a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge, a location where the line between the living and the dead feels impossibly thin. Even today, when fog rolls through the ravine and the wind whistles through the rusted iron beams, the forgotten bridge seems to breathe. Travelers report seeing figures at the edge of the planks, hearing footsteps behind them, and feeling the immense sorrow of lives lost. It is a place where memories of tragedy linger in the air, where the past refuses to release its hold, and where the restless spirits of the disappeared continue to haunt those who dare to cross. In Martinsburg, West Virginia, a bridge known to locals as the Shadow Bridge stretches over a quiet, wooded ravine. By day, it appears unremarkable, a simple crossing connecting two sides of the road. But by night, the bridge takes on a far more sinister character, earning its eerie name from countless reports of dark, moving figures seen across its surface, trapped in a liminal space where the living world meets the realm of the dead. The history of the Shadow Bridge is punctuated by tragedy, though official records note a few minor vehicular accidents during the early 20th century. The stories passed down through generations speak of more chilling events. Some claim that several drivers and pedestrians fell victim to mysterious mishaps, often on foggy nights when visibility was low and the road seemed to twist unnaturally. While some bodies were recovered, others were never found, feeding the belief that the bridge itself harbors a malevolent presence that refuses to let go of those who die there. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the appearance of dark, humanoid shapes darting across the lanes of the bridge. Drivers tell of seeing figures step suddenly into their headlights, only to vanish when they come to a stop. Sometimes, these figures appear to run alongside vehicles or move along the railing, disappearing as though they were never truly there. The fleeting glimpses leave witnesses shaken, a sudden jolt of fear that lingers long after they have left the bridge behind. In addition to visual sightings, the Shadow Bridge is notorious for strange auditory phenomena. Travelers have reported hearing footsteps pounding across the wooden or metal surface of the bridge, echoing unnaturally even when no one else is present. Some describe hearing the sound of doors slamming, muffled cries, or the distant screech of tires, as though replaying the final moments of past tragedies. The wind often carries whispers that seem almost human, echoing across the ravine and chilling the blood of anyone who listens too closely. One particular night, a young couple was driving home through Martinsburg when they approached a bridge under a thick blanket of fog. As they crossed, a shadowy figure appeared directly in their headlights. The man swerved instinctively, but the figure vanished instantly, leaving only a lingering sense of dread. Moments later, they heard a faint, echoing cry that seemed to come from under the bridge, though the water below was calm and silent. The experience left them shaken, their hands gripping the wheel tightly, and neither of them spoke for the remainder of the drive. Paranormal investigators have also been drawn to the Shadow Bridge. Equipped with thermal cameras, audio recorders, and motion sensors, they have documented sudden cold spots and inexplicable movement. Some claim that the bridge reacts to human presence, groaning under invisible weight and amplifying even the slightest noise. Footage sometimes captures shadowy shapes moving along the guardrails, only to disappear when investigators approach, as if the spirits are aware of being observed. The legend surrounding the Shadow Bridge suggests that it functions as a liminal space, a threshold where the souls of the dead can linger when their deaths are sudden or violent. Unlike ghosts tied to homes or buildings, the spirits on this bridge are restless, forced to roam the lanes and railings where they met their demise. Locals warn travelers to avoid the bridge at night, especially in fog or rain, as the spirits are said to become more active under such conditions. Some claim that the bridge even has the power to manipulate perception. Drivers have reported feeling a strange compulsion to accelerate or slow down, as if the bridge itself is guiding them toward an unseen fate. Others feel a sudden weight in the car, like an invisible hand pressing on their shoulders or clutching the steering wheel. These sensations are fleeting, but they are vivid enough to leave lasting fear and unease. Stories of apparitions include not only human figures but also shadowy shapes that resemble animals or indistinct forms. Witnesses describe seeing figures leap from the bridge, walk along the edge, or vanish into the fog that often rolls over the ravine. Some have reported seeing faces emerge from the shadows, pale and sorrowful, reflecting pain, fear, or longing. Many who encounter these phenomena swear that the spirits are trying to communicate, replaying moments of their final, tragic experiences for the living to witness. Despite or perhaps because of its terrifying reputation, the Shadow Bridge continues to attract thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Some come hoping to witness the dark figures, while others are drawn by the bridge's chilling history and local legends. Yet, even those who approach with curiosity often leave with a deep, unnerving sense of sadness and dread, as if the bridge itself imprints the sorrow of its long-dead victims onto those who cross it. The Echo Bridge in Parkersburg, West Virginia, is an unassuming structure by day, stretching across a narrow river valley, connecting to quiet neighborhoods. Its name, however, hints at the sinister reputation it holds. Locals whisper of strange echoes that defy explanation, sounds that seem to return from beneath the bridge with an unnatural resonance. Over the years, countless stories have emerged, all tied to the bridge's mysterious and eerie atmosphere. The bridge has a long and troubled history. Several accidents over the decades have resulted in injuries and fatalities, some of which were never fully explained. People who died there, whether by vehicle accidents, falls, or other tragic events, are said to have left behind an indelible imprint, their spirits unable to move on. Those who traverse the bridge after dark often report hearing more than just the echo of their own footsteps. Strange whispers, sometimes calling a person by name, fill the air, leaving travelers with an inexplicable chill. Witnesses have described the echoes as more than simple sound reflections. Some say they can hear conversations repeated, but with voices that are not their own. A driver recounts a late-night crossing when, after the wind died down, she distinctly heard a man's voice whispering her name over and over. She slammed on her brakes, scanning the road and the river below, but found no one. The voice seemed to emanate from the very structure of the bridge, rising from the wooden beams and steel supports in a way that defied physics. Another frequent report involves the sensation of being followed. Pedestrians and joggers crossing the Echo Bridge in the evening have told of hearing the rapid pace of footsteps behind them, though no one is visible. Sometimes the footsteps match their own, staying in sync as they pick up speed or slow down. Others report hearing muffled laughter, crying, or anguished cries, as if the bridge itself is replaying the final moments of those who died there. Some of the most chilling accounts come from those who linger on the bridge after dark. People claim to see fleeting shadows moving along the edges, indistinct forms that vanish when approached. Others speak of glowing orbs hovering beneath the bridge or floating along the water, often described as pale and bluish, casting faint light onto the river's surface. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest these orbs are manifestations of unsettled spirits, remnants of those who met untimely deaths on or near the bridge. The phenomenon of the echoes has drawn the attention of paranormal investigators. Audio recordings and thermal imaging have revealed sudden drops in temperature beneath the bridge, accompanied by strange, low-frequency hums that cannot be explained by natural causes. Some investigators report capturing faint whispers and cries on audio equipment, even when the area is completely deserted. In several instances, investigators claim to have witnessed objects moving on their own, a discarded bottle rolling across the wooden planks, or a piece of debris lifting as though caught by invisible hands. Local legend holds that the Echo Bridge functions as a liminal space, a threshold between the living and the dead. People who have died violently or tragically on the bridge are said to leave a psychic imprint, an echo of their last moments imprinted onto the very structure. Travelers who cross the bridge, whether on foot or in a vehicle, inadvertently tap into these imprints, triggering the whispers, footsteps, and cries that have earned the bridge its eerie name. One particularly unnerving story involves a group of teenagers exploring the bridge on a foggy night. As they reached the midpoint, the fog seemed to thicken unnaturally, obscuring even the edges of the bridge. They began to hear soft murmurs, indistinguishable at first, until one by one, each whisper clearly called their names. Panicked, they ran to the opposite side, only to see shadowy figures standing at regular intervals along the bridge. Every figure vanished when they blinked, leaving only the thickening fog and a pervasive sense of dread. Drivers crossing the Echo Bridge often report sudden lapses in time. One witness described turning onto the bridge and feeling as though minutes had passed in mere seconds. The echoing voices seemed to surround the car, pressing in from all sides, only to vanish once the vehicle had cleared the far end. Others report seeing headlights of vehicles on the bridge that are not there, and mirrors reflecting passengers who never entered the car. Some suggest that the bridge feeds on human attention, growing more active when it senses curiosity or fear. Nighttime travelers, drawn by the bridge's reputation, or simply passing through, may unknowingly awaken the lingering spirits, prompting more intense manifestations. Even in daylight, some claim to feel a weighty presence as they pass, a heaviness that settles in the chest and makes crossing the bridge a tense, unsettling experience. The Echo Bridge remains a place of fascination and fear. While many pass over it without incident, the stories continue to persist, passed down from one generation to the next. Visitors are warned to respect the bridge and its history, as the spirits are believed to linger, replaying the echoes of their tragic deaths. Those who approach with curiosity may be met with more than they bargained for, confronted with whispers from the past and shadows that defy explanation. The moonlit bridge in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, is a quiet, picturesque crossing by day. Sunlight glints off the river beneath, and the surrounding trees cast a gentle reflection in the water. Locals often visit during the afternoon to enjoy the view, walk along the riverbanks, or photograph the serene landscape. Yet as night falls and the moon casts its silvery glow over the bridge, a different story begins to unfold, a tale of sorrow, loss, and lingering spirits. The bridge is infamous for the tragic tale of a young woman who lived in Shepherdstown many decades ago. She had fallen deeply in love, only to be heartbroken when her lover was taken from her by circumstance. Consumed by grief and despair, She wandered to the bridge on a moonlit night and stepped into the river, never to return. Her body was recovered later, but the anguish she felt in life is said to have left a permanent imprint, binding her spirit to the bridge and the waters below. Those who venture to the moonlit bridge after dark often report an unsettling stillness in the air. The usual sounds of crickets, wind, or passing cars seem to fade away, replaced by a heavy silence that presses upon anyone who walks its length. Some describe feeling an inexplicable sadness, a melancholic weight that settles in the chest, as if the spirit of the young woman is sharing her sorrow with the living. Others notice a sudden drop in temperature, a chilling breeze that flows up from the river and brushes against the skin, no matter the season. Witnesses have claimed to see her apparition on nights when the moon is full and the water gleams with a silver reflection. The figure appears as a pale, ethereal woman, standing at the center of the bridge or leaning over the railing, gazing into the dark waters below. She is often described wearing a flowing white dress that moves gently in the wind, even when the air is still. Her presence is subtle, but unmistakably an aura of sorrow that seems to radiate from her very being. Some pedestrians have felt an almost magnetic pull toward the center of the bridge, a sensation that grows stronger as they approach the spot where she is said to appear. A few have reported hearing soft sighs or murmurs, words of longing and grief that cannot be clearly understood but are heavy with emotion. Others have claimed that the bridge itself seems to respond to her presence, the wooden planks creaking under invisible footsteps, or the railing vibrating as though someone were leaning on it. One particularly chilling account comes from a local fisherman who frequently visited the river near the moonlit bridge. Late one night, he noticed a soft glow hovering above the water, directly beneath the bridge. As he drew closer, the figure of a woman emerged, her reflection shimmering on the river's surface. He froze, unable to move, as the figure slowly turned her head to look at him. He described her eyes as hollow, yet sorrowful, filled with an endless longing that seemed to reach into his very soul. Moments later, the figure vanished, leaving only the faint scent of roses and the ripple of the river in her wake. Drivers have also reported strange occurrences when crossing the bridge at night. Some describe seeing a figure standing at the edge of the road, only to disappear when headlights illuminate her. Others recount feeling a deep, gnawing sadness pressing down on them, making their grip on the steering wheel tighten involuntarily. A few have even claimed to hear the soft splash of water, as though someone was stepping into the river behind their vehicle. Though when they look back, no one is there. Paranormal investigators who have visited the moonlit bridge have noted that electronic equipment often malfunctions in the area. Cameras fail to capture her form, or images appear blurred and distorted. Recorders pick up faint whispers or sighs that cannot be attributed to the wind or passing cars. Temperature readings drop inexplicably, and even dogs brought to the site react nervously, refusing to approach certain spots along the bridge. Investigators speculate that the young woman's spirit is anchored to the location by the intense emotions of her final moments, replaying her grief for anyone sensitive enough to perceive it. Local legend has grown over the years, warning visitors to treat the bridge with respect. Some say that those who mock or disturb the area may be followed by the spirit for days afterward, feeling her sorrow in dreams or unexplained melancholy. Others caution that lingering too long near the center of the bridge can lead to strange visions of the river, reflecting not only the moonlight, but also scenes of her last moments, frozen in time. Despite its haunting reputation, the moonlit bridge continues to attract those drawn to its eerie beauty. Some come in search of thrill or proof of the supernatural, while others seek a quiet place to reflect, perhaps sensing the depth of emotion that still lingers in the air. For many, the experience is unforgettable. The combination of the moonlight, the flowing river, and the sorrowful presence creates an atmosphere that is simultaneously breathtaking and unsettling. The Forgotten Souls Bridge in Wheeling, West Virginia, stretches quietly over the river, its rusted iron framework a reminder of decades gone by. By day, the bridge appears unremarkable, a relic of industrial times, frequented by occasional pedestrians or drivers making their way across. Yet, as night falls, the atmosphere shifts. Locals speak in hushed tones about the bridge's tragic history and the lingering spirits that haunt its span, earning it the somber name of the Forgotten Souls Bridge. The story begins decades ago, when the bridge was a vital thoroughfare for Wheeling's commerce. One stormy night, a catastrophic accident occurred. A vehicle, overloaded and struggling against the rain-slicked planks, lost control and plunged into the river below. The tragedy claimed multiple lives, some of which were never recovered, leaving a lingering sense of unease tied to the site. Since that night, tales of ghostly activity have persisted, whispered among locals and travelers alike. Those brave enough to visit the bridge after dark often report a distinct change in the air. The wind seems to whisper through the steel supports, carrying faint echoes of voices calling out pleas for help, fragments of frantic cries, and sorrowful wails. Pedestrians speak of an oppressive heaviness, as if invisible eyes are following their every move. And the bridge itself feels alive, almost anticipating the arrival of someone who might stumble into its haunted span. One of the most common phenomena reported involves shadowy figures. Witnesses describe seeing human shapes standing near the center of the bridge, often motionless and staring across the water. Some appear to be waiting, their posture tense, as if frozen in a moment from decades past. When approached, these figures vanish abruptly, leaving only the sound of the wind or the faint ripple of water below. On certain nights, the figures seem almost translucent, bathed in a silvery glow from the moon, their presence both chilling and sorrowful. Several visitors have recounted hearing voices that seem to emanate directly from the bridge itself. These are not the ordinary sounds of traffic or wildlife. They are distinct, sometimes urgent, sometimes mournful. A hiker crossing the bridge one night reported hearing her name called repeatedly, though she was alone. Another account describes a man who paused halfway across when he heard the voice of a child calling for a parent. Both claimed the voices seemed to follow them, lingering long after they had left the bridge. Some encounters are even more disturbing. Drivers have reported their cars stalling unexpectedly while crossing the bridge, headlights flickering, and rear-view mirrors reflecting figures that vanish as soon as they turn to look. A few have recounted a sudden, icy chill enveloping the vehicle, causing windows to fog and doors to lock momentarily, only to return to normal moments later. Paranormal enthusiasts often attribute these incidents to the restless spirits of those who perished in the original accident, unwilling or unable to move on. A particularly chilling story comes from a group of teenagers who dared to cross the bridge on a dare. As they reached the midpoint, one of them froze, pointing ahead. In the dim moonlight, a figure appeared tall, motionless, and dripping with water as if it had just risen from the river below. The group fled, later describing the figure as having a blank, searching gaze, and the sensation that it was looking for someone it had lost long ago. Paranormal investigators visiting the Forgotten Souls Bridge have noted similar experiences. Electronic equipment frequently malfunctions on the bridge, with cameras refusing to capture clear images and recorders picking up faint, unintelligible whispers. Temperature readings drop sharply in isolated spots, and EMF meters often spike without explanation. Some investigators suggest that the emotional trauma of the original accident imprinted itself onto the bridge, creating a residual haunting that manifests in sound, sight, and sensation for anyone sensitive enough to perceive it. Despite her, perhaps because of its terrifying reputation, the bridge continues to attract those drawn to the paranormal. Ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and locals curious about its dark history make the journey at night, hoping to catch a glimpse of the apparitions or hear the voices that have plagued the bridge for generations. Many emerge shaken, describing a palpable sadness that clings to the steel beams and wooden planks, as if the bridge itself is mourning the lives lost there. Some who visit the Forgotten Souls Bridge report feeling compelled to return, drawn back by a sense of unfinished business or unresolved grief lingering in the air. The spirits seem selective, appearing to those who acknowledge the bridge's tragic past rather than those who mock or trivialize it. There is a quiet reverence among those who experience its hauntings, an understanding that the bridge is not merely a structure of iron and wood, but a threshold where the living brush against the sorrow of the dead. To this day, the Forgotten Souls Bridge remains a place of mystery and unease, whether it is the shadowy figures, the ghostly voices, or the inexplicable chill that passes through visitors. One thing is clear: the spirits of those who perished decades ago have never truly left. The bridge stands as a somber reminder of tragedy and loss, a location where history and the supernatural intertwine. Each crossing at night is a brush with the unknown, an encounter with the sorrowful souls who continue to linger, waiting for a peace that may never come. The Lantern Bridge in Morgantown, West Virginia, stretches across the river with an unassuming elegance by day. Yet, when night falls, it transforms into a place of mystery and haunting. Its name comes from the strange lights that appear on foggy nights. Small, flickering lantern-like glows that float across the bridge's surface or hover just above the water below. Locals whisper that these lights are not ordinary. Some believe they are the lanterns of lost souls eternally searching for a way home, while others insist they are the spirits of those who tragically died on the bridge, unable to leave the world of the living behind. The history of the bridge is marred by accidents, both large and small. Over the decades, vehicles have slipped in icy conditions, pedestrians have fallen into the river, and even early travelers recount stories of treacherous fog and collapsing planks. Each incident added to the bridge's reputation, and it did not take long for tales of ghostly activity to emerge. Residents who live near the river speak of hearing footsteps on the bridge when no one is there, of soft whispers carried by the wind, and of shadows flitting across the path. Visitors often report the first sign of the supernatural as soon as they approach the bridge on a foggy night. The fog seems to cling unnaturally to the structure, swirling in place even when the rest of the air is still. Within this thick mist, faint lights appear, small pinpoints that resemble lanterns, floating at varying heights above the river or moving slowly along the walkway. Many describe an irresistible feeling to follow them, a pull that compels them to step closer, even as a sense of dread settles over their chest. Those who venture onto the bridge at night frequently recount chilling experiences. Some pedestrians have seen shadowy figures materialize from the fog, appearing almost human but unnervingly distorted. They move slowly, as if suspended between worlds, and disappear the moment someone tries to approach. Drivers passing over the bridge have reported sudden chills inside their vehicles, headlights flickering, and the sensation of being watched, even when the road is empty. Occasionally, passengers glimpse a figure at the edge of the bridge, pale and silent, holding a lantern that casts no light, only darkness. One of the most common experiences involves the eerie lantern lights themselves. Witnesses describe them bobbing along the planks or floating above the river. Their movements deliberate, almost like they are searching for something or someone. Some claim that when they follow the lights, they lead to nowhere, disappearing abruptly into the fog. Others report seeing multiple lanterns at once, as though a procession of spirits is crossing the bridge, endlessly retracing their final steps. These lights have become synonymous with the bridge, giving it a name that is both beautiful and ominous. Occasionally, visitors report hearing voices among the fog, soft cries, calls for help, and even laughter that echoes strangely in the still night air. These sounds are sometimes accompanied by phantom footsteps, growing louder as though someone is pacing the bridge behind them, only to vanish without a trace. A local hiker recalled stepping onto the bridge during a dense fog, hearing a child's laughter carried over the water, and then noticing footprints appearing on the planks, though the bridge was otherwise deserted. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to the Lantern Bridge, bringing cameras, recorders, and electronic equipment to try to capture the phenomena. Many report unusual readings, from sudden drops in temperature to unexplained EMF spikes. Cameras frequently malfunction, leaving streaks of light or strange shadows in their footage. On some nights, EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, recorders pick up whispers or distant calls that seem to respond to questions, though the origin remains unexplained. Some researchers suggest that the bridge holds residual energy from the tragic accidents, a permanent imprint of sorrow and fear that manifests for anyone sensitive enough to notice. Locals also warn that the bridge seems selective in its hauntings. Those who respect its history and approach with caution often encounter subtle signs, the flickering lights, the distant sounds, but leave unharmed. Others, particularly those who treat the bridge as a thrill-seeking destination, sometimes report more intense experiences. Cold drafts that cut to the bone, fleeting glimpses of ghostly figures, or the unnerving feeling of being followed, even when alone. One particularly chilling story comes from a couple who decided to take a walk across the bridge on a foggy evening. As they reached the center, a lantern appeared in the mist, glowing faintly. The light moved slowly toward them, hovering a few feet away. They froze, unable to look away as the lantern swayed, revealing the translucent outline of a figure holding it. The figure's face was obscured by shadow, yet the couple could feel its gaze upon them. Within moments, the lantern and the figure vanished, leaving only the thick fog and an oppressive silence. The lantern bridge remains a magnet for those drawn to the paranormal, from amateur ghost hunters to curious locals and travelers. Its combination of history, tragedy, and unexplained phenomena creates a powerful allure. The bridge is not merely a crossing over water. It is a threshold into a world where sorrow lingers, where the spirits of the lost continue their search, and where the living can sense a connection to the past that is both mesmerizing and terrifying. The Phantom Hitchhiker Bridge, near Charleston, West Virginia, stretches across a quiet stretch of roadway, unremarkable by day, but notorious after dark. Locals speak in hushed tones of a young woman, always seen by drivers on lonely nights. Her appearance pale and almost ethereal, standing at the side of the road with a forlorn expression. She is said to be a phantom hitchhiker, a restless spirit doomed to roam the bridge for eternity, seeking a ride home that she can never reach. The legend dates back decades, though the details vary from teller to teller. Some say the young woman died tragically in a car accident on the bridge, her life cut short just as she began a new chapter. Others claim she was fleeing some danger and perished on the bridge, never having the chance to find safety. Despite the differing accounts, all agree that her spirit lingers, haunting the lonely stretch of road and appearing to drivers in the dead of night. Witnesses report a startling consistency in her behavior. She is typically dressed in light-colored clothing, often a white dress or blouse, which seems to glow faintly in the headlights. She approaches vehicles slowly, motioning with her hand or simply standing, waiting silently for help. Drivers who stop to offer a ride describe a sense of unease, as if something about her presence is not quite right. She sits quietly in the back seat, rarely speaking, and often gazes out the window, lost in her own world, unaware of the passage of time. The most chilling aspect of the legend is her sudden disappearance. No matter how far the driver travels, the young woman vanishes without a trace, often before reaching the destination she provided. Some motorists report glancing into the rearview mirror and seeing only an empty seat, the faint scent of perfume, or the feeling of a cold breeze lingering where she once sat. Others recount that after she disappears, their car seems to feel heavier, almost as if some unseen weight has been lifted, leaving them with a lingering sense of sorrow. Encounters on the Phantom Hitchhiker Bridge are not limited to drivers alone. Pedestrians and late-night walkers have reported seeing her standing at the bridge's edge, her gaze fixed on the water below. On foggy nights, her outline becomes distorted, flickering in and out of view, and some claim to hear soft, plaintive whispers carried by the wind. These sounds are often described as pleas for help or fragments of unfinished sentences, leaving listeners with an overwhelming sense of empathy and unease. Local police and highway patrol officers have even acknowledged reports of the ghostly hitchhiker. While some dismiss the sightings as tricks of the light or tired eyes playing tricks, several accounts are difficult to explain. Officers recount receiving calls from drivers who insist that a young woman was picked up and disappeared mid. In some cases, patrols were dispatched to the reported locations, only to find the vehicle empty and no trace of the passenger, leaving behind only the echo of a mysterious presence. The bridge itself seems to amplify the haunting. Its narrow lanes and rusted guardrails lend an air of isolation, and the river below, dark and still at night, mirrors the sorrow of the spirit. Many drivers report that the atmosphere changes dramatically once they approach the midpoint of the bridge. Headlights may dim, the air feels heavier, and a chill runs through the car. It is as though the bridge exists in two worlds, one of the living and one of the dead, and the phantom hitchhiker moves freely between them. Some locals have offered theories as to why her spirit remains tethered to the bridge. The most common explanation is unfinished business, a need to reach a destination that was never achieved in life. Others suggest she represents the emotional residue of a tragic event, a manifestation of grief, fear, and longing that has become part of the bridge itself. Paranormal enthusiasts often refer to her as a classic residual haunting, a repeating imprint of a traumatic event that interacts with the living whenever conditions are right. Over the years, numerous attempts have been made to capture evidence of her presence. Cameras set up along the bridge sometimes record fleeting shadows or unexplained movement, and audio recorders occasionally pick up faint, indistinct voices. Even when no one is present, passing vehicles seem to trigger small disturbances, lights flickering, doors clicking, or wind rattling the windows, all inexplicably tied to the phantom's legend. Despite these efforts, no one has ever conclusively proven her existence, adding to the aura of mystery and fear surrounding the bridge. Encounters with the phantom hitchhiker often leave a lasting impression. Drivers describe feelings of deep sorrow, empathy, and sometimes fear. Some report dreams of the young woman after seeing her, in which she walks along the bridge, hand outstretched, silently asking for help. Others develop an acute awareness of lonely roads and foggy nights, their memories of the experience lingering long after they have left the bridge behind. For those daring enough to drive the phantom hitchhiker bridge at night, the experience is unforgettable. The combination of history, tragedy, and the unexplained creates a chilling atmosphere, a reminder that the past is never truly gone. The young woman's spirit continues to wander, seeking a ride she will never reach, a home she cannot find, and leaving those who encounter her with an unshakable sense of the supernatural. The Foggy Bridge in Fairmont, West Virginia, is a seemingly ordinary structure by day, spanning the quiet waters below and carrying the usual flow of traffic. But when night falls and the mist rolls in, the bridge transforms into something far more sinister. Locals have long whispered about the spectral figures that emerge from the fog shadows that flicker in and out of view, and the overwhelming sense that the bridge exists between two worlds, one of the living and one of the dead. The origins of the haunting are murky, but the stories all point to tragedy. Some claim that decades ago, a driver lost control on the bridge during a dense fog, plunging into the river below. Others speak of a pedestrian who vanished mysteriously one night, never to be seen again. Over time, these stories melded into a collective legend. The Foggy Bridge is a place where the souls of the lost linger, drawn to the veil of mist that conceals them from the living. Witnesses often describe encountering ghostly figures walking along the bridge in the early hours of the morning or late at night. Drivers report seeing faint silhouettes just beyond the reach of their headlights, motionless at first, then slowly moving, as if pacing the bridge. When they attempt to get closer, the figures vanish, sometimes in the fog, sometimes as if they simply ceased to exist. Pedestrians who cross the bridge alone have reported an unsettling sensation, as though unseen eyes are tracking their every step. The air grows cold, heavy with moisture, and an inexplicable dread seeps into the bones, warning them to leave. One recurring story involves a young woman dressed in a long coat, her hair obscured by the fog. She is often seen near the middle of the bridge, gazing down at the dark waters below. Drivers who have stopped to offer assistance describe an intense feeling of sorrow emanating from her, a weight of grief that seems to press on their chests. Some have claimed that as they approach, she looks up with hollow eyes, only to disappear the instant their vehicle passes her. Those who witness her describe an overwhelming sense of unfinished business, as if she is searching endlessly for a resolution that will never come. The bridge's fog seems to play an essential role in these sightings. Locals often remark that the ghostly apparitions only appear when the mist is thick, shrouding the bridge in a veil of gray that obscures reality. Some paranormal enthusiasts believe that the fog acts as a thin barrier between the living and the dead, allowing spirits trapped in the area to manifest temporarily. It is said that the denser the fog, the stronger the energy, and the more frequent the sightings become. On clear nights, the bridge appears ordinary, almost inviting, but the moment the mist returns, it takes on an air of menace and melancholy. Strange occurrences on the bridge are not limited to visual phenomena. Drivers have reported hearing whispers carried on the wind, unintelligible murmurs that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Footsteps sometimes echo on the pavement, even when no one is near. Some motorists describe hearing a sudden tapping on their car windows, or the sound of someone walking behind their vehicle, only to discover no one is present when they stop. These sensory experiences heighten the bridge's eerie reputation and make the legend all the more chilling. Paranormal investigators have explored the foggy bridge extensively, hoping to capture evidence of its haunting. Cameras and audio recorders have occasionally picked up unexplained movements or faint voices, and temperature anomalies are frequently noted. Investigators report sudden drops in temperature in specific areas, a classic sign of ghostly activity. Despite these efforts, the apparitions remain elusive, appearing only when they wish, reinforcing the idea that the spirits on the bridge are not bound by time or the expectations of the living. Local folklore also emphasizes the emotional weight of the hauntings. The bridge is not only a place of visual sightings, but also one of emotional resonance. People often leave the bridge shaken, feeling a lingering sadness or heaviness long after they have driven away. It is as if the bridge absorbs the grief of the spirits and transmits it to those who cross it, reminding them that tragedy and loss have left indelible marks on the land. There are warnings for those who dare to visit the bridge alone. Drivers are advised to stay in their vehicles, as encounters with the apparitions can be unnerving and unpredictable. Pedestrians who venture across are often advised to avoid the bridge during dense fog or late at night, when the spectral activity is most pronounced. Despite these warnings, thrill seekers and ghost hunters continue to visit, hoping for a glimpse of the bridge's mysterious inhabitants or to experience the spine-chilling aura firsthand. The foggy bridge remains a powerful symbol in Fairmont's local lore, a reminder of the thin line between the living and the dead. It embodies tragedy, loss, and the unknown, capturing the imagination of all who encounter it. Some nights, the bridge stands silent and unassuming, but on mist-filled evenings, it becomes a threshold to the spectral world, where figures drift silently, caught between life and death. The echoing bridge in Wheeling, West Virginia, is a structure that appears ordinary during the day, its steel arches stretching over the quiet waters below. But as night falls, a strange and unsettling energy seems to awaken along its span. Locals have long whispered about the eerie sounds that can be heard when the bridge is empty. The so-called echoes that give the bridge its name. These are not the ordinary reverberations of traffic or wind. Rather, they are sounds that some claim belong to those who died tragically on the bridge over the years. The bridge has a dark history of accidents, many of which resulted in fatalities. Drivers recount tales of vehicles mysteriously stalling at the midpoint, followed by the sensation of being watched. Some pedestrians report hearing footsteps behind them as they walk across, matching their own pace, only to turn around and find no one there. The echoes are said to repeat, bounce, and linger, sometimes for several seconds, as if the bridge itself remembers every misstep, every tragedy that has occurred upon it. Witnesses often describe these phenomena in vivid detail. One driver reported crossing the bridge on a foggy night when he heard the unmistakable sound of high-heeled shoes clicking across the pavement behind him. Heart pounding, he glanced into the rearview mirror, expecting to see a pedestrian or perhaps another car, but the lane was empty. Moments later, the sounds vanished, leaving only the oppressive silence of the night. On other occasions, residents, walking their dogs or jogging across the bridge, have heard whispered voices, faint and fragmented, calling out names or repeating phrases like, "Help me" or "Don T, leave me." The bridge's name, Echoing Bridge, is thought to stem not only from these auditory phenomena, but also from the way the structure, seems to magnify and distort sound. Sounds that originate from nowhere, footsteps, muffled cries, whispers bounce along the steel framework in ways that can feel almost intentional, as if the bridge itself is performing a spectral symphony. Some paranormal enthusiasts theorize that the bridge has absorbed the residual energy of those who met their end on it, imprinting their final moments into the very metal and concrete. Among the most chilling tales is that of a young woman who reportedly fell from the bridge decades ago. Witnesses claim that, on fog-laden nights, her figure can be glimpsed standing near the railing, staring into the dark waters below. Those who approach describe a sudden drop in temperature, accompanied by an overwhelming sense of despair. Sometimes, her image appears in fleeting reflections on the wet pavement, or in the peripheral vision of drivers, vanishing the instant they turn to look directly. The bridge also seems to have a memory of its accidents. Motorists have reported hearing sounds that correspond eerily to past incidents: screeching of tires, a metallic crash, or the splashing of a body hitting the water. These sounds often occur when no vehicles or pedestrians are present, intensifying the feeling that the bridge is alive with echoes of its tragic past. Residents say that the echoes are strongest during storms, when the wind howls across the spans, carrying with it a chorus of phantom voices. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to the echoing bridge for decades. They report sudden drops in temperature along certain sections of the span, unexplained electromagnetic disturbances, and captured audio of faint footsteps and whispers. Cameras sometimes record fleeting shadowy figures darting across the bridge or lingering near the edges, only to vanish when approached. Despite numerous investigations, the phenomena remain elusive, reinforcing the belief that the spirits haunting the bridge are selective, appearing only when they wish to be seen or heard. Local folklore adds another layer to the haunting. Stories circulate of drivers who, after hearing the phantom footsteps or whispered cries, find themselves inexplicably turned around, back at the bridge's entrance without memory of how they arrived. Some suggest that the bridge can manipulate perception, disorienting those who traverse it, while others believe it serves as a portal, a liminal space where the boundary between the living and the dead is thin. The emotional weight of the bridge is palpable. Even those who have not experienced the auditory phenomena often report a sense of unease when crossing, a feeling that something unseen is present. The combination of the bridge's tragic history, the strange acoustic phenomena, and the fog that frequently blankets it contributes to a lingering atmosphere of dread. It is as if the bridge itself holds the collective sorrow of all who have suffered there, a silent witness to decades of human misfortune. Despite warnings, the echoing bridge continues to attract thrill seekers, ghost hunters, and those curious about the paranormal. Many hope to capture audio of the unexplained footsteps or to glimpse one of the spectral figures reported over the years. Yet, whether approached by the living with curiosity or caution, the bridge seems to guard its secrets jealously, offering only fleeting glimpses and distant echoes of the past. In Wheeling, the echoing bridge is more than a passage over water. It is a repository of memory, grief, and mystery. The echoes that give the bridge its name are not simply sounds. They are remnants of lives abruptly ended, of tragedies etched into the fabric of the structure. Every step along the bridge, every sound that reverberates across its span, serves as a reminder that some places retain the essence of those who came before, and that the past never truly fades away. The Midnight Bridge in Charleston, West Virginia, is a place that has long captured the imagination of locals and thrill seekers alike. By day, it appears to be an ordinary span of steel and concrete, stretching across the quiet river below. But as night falls, the bridge takes on a life of its own, enveloped in an unsettling stillness and shadowy aura. Those who dare to cross after dark often speak of strange occurrences that cannot be explained by logic or reason. The haunting of Midnight Bridge is said to revolve around a man who died under mysterious circumstances decades ago. His story is shrouded in rumor. Some say he fell while walking along the bridge late at night, while others claim he was pushed. Regardless of the cause, his death left an imprint on the location, and over the years, Numerous witnesses have reported experiences that suggest his spirit lingers, unable or unwilling to leave the site of his demise. Visitors frequently recount hearing the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoing along the bridge, always following them, always in perfect sync with their own pace. Many have turned around in alarm, expecting to see another pedestrian or a stray animal, but the path behind them is always empty. The footsteps continue, growing louder or softer depending on the witness's movement, giving the unsettling impression that the spirit is intentionally tracking them, as if seeking acknowledgement or company. Some of the most chilling accounts involve shadowy figures glimpsed at the bridge's edge. Witnesses describe a dark silhouette, humanoid but undefined, standing motionless as if gazing into the waters below. When approached, the figure vanishes, leaving nothing but the cold wind and the faint echo of footsteps. On foggy nights, these apparitions are said to be even more visible, sometimes appearing to float just above the surface of the river, their presence sending shivers down the spine of anyone nearby. The bridge also seems to affect vehicles. Drivers have reported engines suddenly cutting out while crossing, headlights flickering, or the sensation of being slowed by an unseen force. Some have claimed to see fleeting shadows dart across their paths, disappearing the moment they try to focus on them. The experience is disorienting, leaving even the most skeptical observers questioning their senses. Those who venture onto the bridge late at night often notice a sudden drop in temperature, as if the air itself has been altered by the presence of something otherworldly. The chill is not constant but comes in sharp, localized waves, frequently accompanied by an intense feeling of unease. Some describe the sensation as being watched, as if unseen eyes are following every movement, heightening their anxiety as they move across the structure. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to Midnight Bridge for decades, using thermal cameras, audio recorders, and electromagnetic field detectors. They have captured anomalies that defy explanation. Footsteps, whispers, and soft murmurs have been recorded on nights when the bridge was otherwise empty. Cameras have occasionally captured shadowy figures near the bridge's railings, fading into the darkness when investigators approach. While skeptics may attribute these events to natural causes or optical illusions, the consistency and specificity of the reports suggests something more. Local lore adds depth to the legend. Stories abound of the man's ghost appearing at the same time each night, often around midnight, hence the bridge's name. Some claim he is searching for someone, perhaps the person who caused his death, or perhaps a companion to share his endless vigil. Those who have witnessed the apparition describe an overwhelming sense of sadness emanating from the figure, a sorrow that seems to seep into the very bones of anyone nearby. Occasionally, residents report hearing faint cries or calls for help while near the bridge. These sounds are not always footsteps, but are said to be soft, almost pleading, echoing across the river and blending with the natural noises of the night. Some believe the sounds are residual energy, replaying the final moments of the man's life, while others claim they are direct attempts at communication from the spirit itself. Despite the warnings, Midnight Bridge continues to attract thrill-seekers, paranormal enthusiasts, and local explorers. Many are drawn by curiosity, hoping to witness the ghostly phenomena firsthand. Some seek to record proof of the haunting, while others simply want to experience the eerie ambience of a bridge that seems suspended between the realms of the living and the dead. Those who cross alone often report the most intense experiences, perhaps because the spirit's presence is more pronounced when unchallenged by multiple observers. The psychological weight of the bridge is undeniable. Even those who have not experienced the paranormal often report a creeping sense of unease when approaching at night. The combination of history, folklore, and unexplained phenomena creates a powerful aura of suspense, making each crossing a unique and often chilling experience. Midnight Bridge stands as a silent witness to tragedy, a structure that holds the memories of a life ended too soon. The footsteps, whispers, and shadowy figure are reminders that some places retain the essence of those who have passed, refusing to fade quietly into history. Crossing the bridge is not merely a matter of getting from one side to the other. It is an encounter with the lingering presence of the past, a test of courage, and a brush with something beyond ordinary perception. The Whispering Bridge in Beckley, West Virginia, is a place shrouded in mystery and unsettling tales. By day, it appears to be an ordinary structure spanning a quiet stretch of water, its weathered wooden planks and steel beams giving it a rustic charm. But as night falls, the bridge transforms into something far more sinister. Locals speak of strange sounds and eerie sensations that draw the curious, the thrill-seekers, and the bravor, the foolish into its shadowy embrace. The bridge earned its ominous name from the soft, unintelligible voices that many visitors report hearing beneath its span. On foggy or quiet nights, when the surrounding woods are still and the water below reflects only the dim glow of the moon, these whispers seem to carry across the planks, delicate yet distinct. Some say they are the spirits of those who lost their lives in tragic accidents on the bridge over the years. The whispers are often described as hushed, almost conversational, as if the dead are sharing secrets or trying to communicate with the living. Those who have dared to spend time on the bridge at night frequently report the sensation of being watched. A fleeting shadow may flicker at the edge of their vision, disappearing the moment they try to focus on it. Others feel an inexplicable chill, a sudden drop in temperature that seems localized, as though the bridge itself breathes cold air over the visitor. The effect is disorienting, making the quiet whispers even more unnerving, as though the voices are amplified by the fear rising within those who stand upon the planks. Perhaps the most unnerving reports involve the whispers calling names. Several visitors have claimed that, while crossing the bridge alone, they hear their own names being spoken softly, sometimes with a sense of urgency or longing. The experience is deeply personal, as if the bridge itself recognizes the individual and tries to pull them into its haunted embrace. Many report freezing in place, heart pounding, unsure whether to proceed or flee, and often the voices continue even after they have stepped off the bridge, fading slowly into the night. Some witnesses describe the whispers as more than just sounds. They carry emotions. The voices are said to express sorrow, fear, or even anger, leaving listeners with a sense of empathy for the spirits trapped in the bridge's spectral limbo. Locals warn that the bridge is especially active during certain times of the year, particularly near anniversaries of tragic accidents or on nights when the moon is full. During these nights, the whispers reportedly become more coherent, almost forming words or sentences, though their meaning often remains elusive. Paranormal investigators have visited the Whispering Bridge for decades, drawn by its reputation and the consistency of witness reports. Using audio recording devices, EMF detectors, and thermal cameras, they have captured anomalies that defy easy explanation. Recordings often reveal faint murmurs, whispers, and even occasional sobs, despite the area being otherwise silent. Cameras have picked up shadowy figures near the edges of the bridge or fleeting movements that vanish when approached. While skeptics argue that the sounds may be the result of wind, water, or animal activity, the pattern of phenomena over decades lends weight to the belief that the bridge is indeed haunted. Some legends suggest that the spirits haunting the Whispering Bridge are not only victims of accidents, but also of unresolved conflicts. Perhaps they were travelers who argued or fought before their untimely deaths, or locals who met violent ends and could not find peace. These stories lend a deeper, almost human quality to the haunting, making the whispers more than random sounds. They become echoes of lives interrupted, voices trapped between worlds, and messages that may never be fully understood. Visitors often report other physical sensations alongside the whispers: a tingling along the skin, a sudden sense of vertigo while standing on the bridge, or the feeling of being lightly touched when no one is near. These manifestations are subtle but persistent, creating an atmosphere where the natural and supernatural seem intertwined. Even the faint creak of the wooden planks can take on a sinister quality, as if footsteps from the past are walking in tandem with the living. For those brave enough to linger on the bridge, the experience can be transformative, leaving a lasting impression. Many emerge shaken, their perception of reality subtly altered. Some claim to have glimpsed figures standing at the water's edge, cloaked in shadow, or to have felt the weight of unseen eyes upon them. Others have reported a profound sense of sadness, a kind of melancholic resonance that seems to emanate from the structure itself, a reminder of the lives that ended too soon and the voices that refused to be silenced. The Whispering Bridge has also become a magnet for local storytellers and thrill seekers. Tales of hearing one's name called or witnessing ghostly figures have become part of Beckley's folklore. The bridge serves as a stark reminder that even in places of ordinary appearance, the past can linger, and tragedies can leave echoes that persist long after the world has moved on. Despite the warnings and the eerie experiences, the bridge continues to draw those fascinated by the paranormal. It stands as a liminal space, a crossing between the living and the dead, a place where whispers carry across the night air and shadows move just beyond the reach of sight. Walking across the Whispering Bridge is more than a simple journey from one side to the other. It is an encounter with lingering spirits, a brush with history, and a test of courage for anyone willing to face the unseen. The Forgotten Bridge in Huntington, West Virginia, is a structure that time seems to have overlooked, hidden among overgrown trees and long-forgotten paths. It spans a quiet, winding river, its weathered planks and rusting steel beams giving it an air of abandonment. By day, it might appear as little more than an old relic, a bridge that once served the town but now exists as a forgotten passage. Yet, those who have dared to cross it at night or during the twilight hours speak of experiences that are far from ordinary, encounters that leave an indelible mark on the soul. Locals rarely visit the bridge, partly out of disinterest and partly because of its eerie reputation. Stories have circulated for decades, whispered among adventurous teenagers, hikers, and paranormal enthusiasts. The most common tale is that of ghostly figures standing at the edge of the bridge. Witnesses describe seeing people, sometimes men, in old-fashioned clothing, other times indistinct silhouettes gazing into the river below. When approached, these figures vanish without a trace, leaving only a lingering sense of unease and the unsettling sound of empty air where footsteps should have been. The atmosphere around the Forgotten Bridge is often described as oppressively heavy, as though the air itself is laden with sorrow. Some visitors report an overwhelming sense of sadness and loss as they step onto the wooden planks. This emotion is so intense that it can cause a physical reaction, shivers, nausea, or the inexplicable feeling of being weighed down by invisible hands. It is as if the bridge itself remembers the grief of those who have crossed it before, and in some inexplicable way, it shares that memory with anyone who ventures onto it. Sightings are not the only strange occurrences reported. Sounds are a recurring theme in the experiences of visitors. The wind seems to carry whispers, faint and unintelligible, that ebb and flow along the riverbanks. Some describe hearing sobs or muffled cries, echoing beneath the bridge in a way that seems almost alive. Others report the sensation of footsteps behind them, soft and deliberate, even when they are completely alone. On some nights, the planks of the bridge creak as though supporting an invisible presence. Yet no one is visible, and the surrounding area remains silent. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to the Forgotten Bridge precisely because of these consistent reports. Armed with audio recorders, EMF detectors, and infrared cameras, they have documented occurrences that defy conventional explanation. On recordings, faint voices and whispers can sometimes be discerned, captured in places where no other sound should exist. Thermal cameras have picked up shadowy forms lingering near the bridge's edges, standing still as though watching those who dared to cross. Even the most skeptical visitors admit that the bridge has an undeniable presence, an almost sentient quality that cannot be explained by natural phenomena alone. Legend has it that the bridge may be haunted by the spirits of travelers who met tragic ends nearby. Accidents, drownings, and other misfortunes may have left echoes that linger to this day. Some stories suggest that the bridge is a liminal space, a threshold where the living and the dead briefly coexist. Those who experience the haunting often describe a feeling of being observed, as though unseen eyes are tracking their every movement, measuring whether they belong to the living or the departed. Some visitors have reported seeing fleeting apparitions, ghostly forms that appear only for a moment before dissolving into the mist. These shapes are often described as humanoid, but blurred, as if caught between two worlds. The most chilling accounts describe figures that seem to reach out, only to vanish when touched or approached, leaving witnesses with a profound sense of incompleteness, as if they glimpsed a life they could never fully understand. Even during the day, the Forgotten Bridge exudes an unusual aura. The air is heavier here, the lights somehow dimmer, and shadows seem to linger longer than they should. Hikers who pass through report a strange stillness, as if the surrounding woods are holding their breath, watching and waiting. Birds avoid the immediate area, and even the wind seems to move differently around the bridge, carrying with it an almost tangible tension. It is as though the bridge exists outside of ordinary time, a place where the past and present overlap. Despite the warnings and the unsettling experiences, the bridge continues to attract those drawn to the paranormal. Ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and curious travelers make the journey, hoping to glimpse the unexplained or capture evidence of the otherworldly. For many, the experience is humbling, leaving them acutely aware of forces beyond human comprehension. Those who linger too long often emerge shaken, their perception of reality subtly altered. The bridge has a way of impressing itself upon the mind, of leaving whispers and shadows lingering long after one has returned to solid ground. The Forgotten Bridge serves as a stark reminder of the persistence of memory, both human and spectral. It is a place where grief and tragedy have left an indelible imprint, and where those lost may continue to linger, reaching out for acknowledgement. Crossing it is not merely a physical journey, but a passage through the echoes of lives interrupted, a confrontation with sorrow that refuses to fade. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay updated on our latest tales. Share your own experiences with haunted places in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Remember, the darkness is always closer than you think. Sweet dreams, if you dare.